Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. Check your Geiger counters and keep your distance. It's Arc 24.
Woo!
Hey,
Let's
go. Let's go.
Crushed it.
Yes,
Crushed
we
it like
did in
Behemoth
fact.
crushed so
Crushed it.
many
Crushed
people.
it.
Crushed.
Ooh,
The name of the arc.
It's the name of the arc.
I know, it's pretty
Oh,
good.
got it.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. I kind of expected everyone to be like, ah ha ha, Hannah, you're so funny. And then I didn't know if y'all had heard me, and then I repeated it, and then it wasn't funny.
I didn't get it.
time.
Hannah,
first,
you
to be
think that I
honest.
pay enough attention to the names of the arcs? I barely remember what I've read yesterday.
That's very true. That's very true. No, it's only because I'm literally staring at the summary that I have in front of me that
Valid.
says Arc 24
That
crushed.
was good. It was good,
Oh.
Hannah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Michael,
for
go back in
your
and put some golf
pity.
clapping after she says it. I think it'll make her feel better when
I
it
can
comes
give
out.
my own golf clapping. Thank you.
Hold on, it's okay.
Everybody
I have
clap right now.
we're not in Discord.
Yay.
We're not going to pretend that didn't sound like something else.
We really shouldn't. we really shouldn't put that on the internet. Someone's gonna take us out of context.
Anyway, speaking of clapping
Or
cheeks,
should we?
Behemoth here.
Oh my God, did he clap him?
The biggest clap-em of them all.
You know,
Oh.
We are in
I'm
Arc
clapping
24.
and
Claposaurus Rex.
Jacob tried.
Because I'm trying to get the episode
No.
started.
I've learned by now.
Go clap him,
I gotta
Cheekzilla.
let you get it all out. Listen,
Sorry.
Michael will just cut it around, so that it all sounds good.
Just cut out Jacob.
No, you leave the chaos. That's what they love us for, is the chaos.
They call him the cheek killer.
You got any more? Are we good?
I'm sure I'll come up with
You're
another
done.
one.
I mean,
I'm
Behemoth's
sure
primary move is like what? Ground pound, basically?
Basically,
I
yeah.
was- it's that. I also,
It's the slap. He's got the
Yeah.
slap, the clap slap.
Mm.
The
Oh,
Those
slap,
big-
clap slap. Oh,
He does have the
he is
clap
clapping
slap.
and slapping slap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I will say, actually, I really like Behemoth's powers because it is
Yeah.
such a cool take on basically a kaiju type monster. So, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's dummy thick.
Mm,
The clap of his ass cheeks.
yeah. I'd like to think it destroyed all of New Delhi.
No.
Where's the render? I know somebody out there, some degenerate has a render of a dummy thick behemoth just ass clapping a
I was
city.
gonna say, send it to us and we will
Yeah.
put it on a t-shirt. I
Yeah.
swear to God.
All right, we got it. We're good.
Yeah,
We're all,
okay, we
got
can
the
hop
good
in
intro.
now.
good intro.
From 2020
Welcome.
on Space
Oh, no.
Battles, can Endbringers be dummy thick? Choose your own adventure.
Oh, no. I knew it. I knew it.
Of
course.
you did know it.
Go find it. We're not going to link it. Go find it on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Rule 34, and Worm is like over 10 years old. I'm sure there's
so
plenty
much.
of special
There's so
content
much out there.
out in the internet.
Special
For your
content.
special eyes.
My brand.
Okay.
Oh,
Love it.
just like
Well, there
our
we are.
patron.
Mm.
Mhm.
Let's just plug that now.
Yeah.
Plug it
Special
now.
content for your specialized. Come
We
join
do have
us.
special
If you want to
Patreon.
specialize with your special eyes.
Join us on
Workshop
Patreon.
it.
And when
You didn't finish
when
the
you
sentence,
become
Nick.
a patron of our Patreon, you get to hang out with us in the Discord that we
That's true.
have. And it's actually, we've had some really fun time with some of our patrons who've gotten on
It's the
and
best.
shot the shit and just hung out and talked. And it's been a blast. And you're
Plus
missing
bonus
out, really.
content. We got
And we have-
bonus
we have so
videos.
much bonus
Man, if you
fun
want to
content.
hear
We
an
do have
hour and
video.
a half of us talking about how thick Behemoth is and about clapping Simmerg cheeks.
I mean, we might have
Yeah.
a
You
fan
should
fiction
get on our
episode coming
Patreon.
up. We might have a fan
we
fiction
actually,
episode
we
coming up.
do
Yeah.
have something potentially
Yeah.
in the works. So, you know, you might want to.
It's- You know what? The Wrigglers, $1 a month, $1 goes a long ways. And
It really
come on,
does. It really does.
you won't miss that.
And
Come join
every
us.
every monies that you give us goes straight to Michael, because Michael does all of this amazing hard work and doesn't see a freaking penny. So all of that goes straight to him, because
Well, Michael's like, wait, I'm not supposed to see any of that money? I've been seeing it all the way to Taco Bell.
it goes, no, that's the point. It goes all the way to Michael, and
You should be
Michael gets all of
caffeinated
it.
so that this can keep
Yeah.
happening.
There we
He's
go.
our producer. He is our editor. He is our person who
Our
manages
rock.
all of postings. He's our rock.
Okay.
He's just
all right.
everything. He's
Oh,
everything.
thank you.
So
Thank you.
It's my
All
warm
right.
blanket on a rainy day.
it's true. Like an electronic blanket.
No, just like
That's
straight
not
out
what
of
they're
the
called. What are they
dryer.
called?
You know,
Oh, like out of the Danny
Warm blanket.
Like Danny pulling warm blankets out of the dryer for you. That's
you're damn
Michael.
right.
Support Michael today by donating to our Patreon. I got you, Michael. I
That
got
was
you,
so
Michael.
good.
Don't you
That was
worry.
really good.
Wow.
Don't you worry. I got you.
Oh.
Little tease for our live reading.
That
Mm.
was awesome.
Got to be a patron for that.
Get those binaural mics. That's what we'll save up for, so we can do the ASMR where I go
We
lean
like
in
crank
and
up
Oh,
the
gosh.
crank up the what's it called, the sensitivity on the mic, so
Mhm.
it's like we're all real special.
like we're right in the
We're
room.
right in the room with you.
Right there.
We're right there with you, reading every sentence.
Join us on Patreon.
Join us on Patreon.
And at Brockton, BC, BrocktonBayBC.com.
There's probably not
All
something I
right,
should
it's
do with a
been
cough drop in
almost-
my mouth, but let's go.
Almost 8 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
we've-
need to
we've
get to 10. We need
stalled.
are we warmed up? We warmed up?
We're warmed
We've
up.
stalled
up, baby.
long
So warm.
enough.
We're wormed up.
Wormed up.
Oh, warmed
Oh
up.
my god.
I'm so full of worms right now.
Gross.
Oh my god. Okay.
God,
It's
our
fine.
sequel series,
I've
the
had so much
Dewormer
Dayquil today.
podcast.
Yeah. Start.
It has
That's
nothing to
such
do
a
with
great
worm.
name.
It's just
It's such a
coming
great
down.
name too.
It is, but it's just nothing but like recovering from worm.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we're gonna need some. I think we're all stalling because this is a
We're about to-
intense arc.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arc 24 crushed. You mean Arc 24 crushed my soul?
Mhm.
That's true.
We were talking a little bit before we hit the old record button. How like it's been really enjoying kind of rereading all of Worm because I'm picking up a lot of stuff that I forgot and things like that. But getting to this arc, there's been a few moments where like I've just sort of stopped and really focused again on the story. And this arc was one of them for me, where like I don't know exactly what it is. I enjoy the more action heavy arcs, just because I love the way the Wild Bow writes action. But this one in particular, there's just so many moments that I had to focus. I had to sit down and focus and just take it all in. It's so good, so well written.
Yeah, and it's combat and it's chaos, but it's not. It doesn't feel hard to follow, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
really well done overall. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's not just the battle, like it's not just one big battle like Leviathan's fight was. It feels more like a war. Like there's more facets to it than just like, yes, we're fighting. Like, no, there's also all the strategy and the getting the wounded to safety and all the regrouping and trying to figure out where your people are. There's just so much more to it that felt like longer.
Yeah,
And
this
it's probably less than, but it felt longer than the Leviathan fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like you said, it's like a war film. It's like watching an old like World War One, documentary. There's the trenches and the strategy, and there's the action, but then there's the retreat and the fallback and the regroup, and like pace slows for a bit, and then it goes it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's dive in. Anyone, any objections?
Now let's jump in.
Yeah,
Let's
good.
All right.
Hit us,
So we're
Anna.
going to go chapter by chapter here. Chapter 1, Taylor familiarizes herself with the new wards, the new Chicago wards, and they build a lightning rod with Golem's cool hands, rescue capes and refugees, and then reconnect with the Undersiders on the battlefield. There's a lot that happens here, but that's the gist of it.
I do wish they would have gone with the middle finger lightning rod.
I know. I love that they settled on the peace sign, and then someone later, like in one of the later chapters, is like, don't they know that the peace sign is like a offensive,
Right?
an offensive gesture in New Delhi? Like, they could have picked something else. Like,
Whoops.
That's
whoopsie
funny.
doo.
Although I do like
Yeah.
later the commentary is like, I believe Region is like, oh yeah, V for vagina. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, no.
Wait, no, it's
I think it's cuff.
victory.
She's like,
Peace.
it's for victory. Like you can just hear them.
So sweet. Yeah.
It's great.
Oh.
That's funny.
Okay, let's talk about the new wards though, because we've got a few
Yes.
new
we do.
faces in the Chicago wards.
From Chicago.
Chicago.
We know Tecton.
Yes, we've met Tecton before.
Nick, it's pronounced tecton, like tectonic plates.
I'm sorry, I believe it's a
Oh my God, we're not doing
tectone.
this again. We're not doing this again.
Tectonic.
Keyston?
Tectone.
Mm,
Yeah. It's actually Tucson.
On. Anyways, we got
English,
Tecton,
you funny
Tecton.
language.
Yeah.
We have Golem, not to be
Yes.
confused with Gollum,
Right.
Right.
which was the funniest exchange of this.
That
Well,
was.
actually, no, it wasn't the funniest exchange. It was one of the very funny exchanges that happens in this chapter, but I greatly enjoyed that. That was fun.
Yeah, and then who's the rest? We got Cuff.
Yep. Cuff.
Cuff. Yep.
Who is basically just
And-
the monk class, if I'm not mistaken, from D&D 5e.
It's basically like that mixed with a little bit of like the Kaiser metal bending, right?
Yeah, she's got some weak metal bending. Yeah.
And then
The monk way of the metal.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, monk way of steel and wires. And then we had Grace, who we knew before.
Who is
Yep,
just
we
the
know
straight up
Grace.
monk class, way of the open fist.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, the ninja
She's
of
our
the
heavy.
group. Almost.
She's like a.
Well, no, she's more of a
I
heavy
thought
hitter.
she was
isn't
more of a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
He is a
she's
heavy
more-
hitter, but she's
More
she is,
Iron Fist.
Yeah.
than-
Yeah,
Sure,
Iron
sure.
Fist is actually a good example. Except Iron Fist, yeah, you know what?
And then,
It's close.
and then one of my favorites, Annex.
Yes,
Mm.
Anna.
Yeah.
Who just has Zelda Link between worlds powers.
I mean, you're not
As
wrong.
someone who didn't play the Link games,
You can go
I don't get that
2D.
reference, but it's cool. I know what you sort of mean.
That's good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, so some fun,
Yeah,
powers for sure.
for sure. It's interesting. Which one of them has only been on the job for a month?
Golem and Cuff, I think.
Golem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Golem and Cuff.
Yeah.
I think both of them.
Because
They're
I
the-
thought it was
they're the
two of
noobs.
them. Yeah, who were like brand spanking new. Like it's like obviously being a cape in this world is very much like being thrown right into the fray, like immediately. But to be thrown right in with an Endbringer fight is like, holy shit, it's a lot thrown at you immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I feel really bad for the newbies. But Taylor comes in, and I think that's why Tecton makes Taylor the leader. In part,
Yeah.
we find out more later, but I do
Mhm.
love that because just that feeling of, yeah, no, he knows that you've done this before. You've got the tactical mindset to make this work, unlike anybody else, you know.
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, this is the
she's got-
same. It's the same thing with like Noelle and Trickster. Like Trickster was the team lead, not for good reason, but Noelle was the battlefield commander when they had her. You know,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
like that's what she was really good at. And
It's what made her so difficult to fight later on, is because she was so good at the strategy.
Yeah.
and same
Yeah.
for
Right.
I mean, Tattletale and Gru and Skitter. Like, truthfully, Tattletale is the leader of that group. Like, she does make the decisions. Often sans, Taylor, but
Mhm.
Taylor is kind of really good at battlefield command. So like, I think this is a good dynamic for them to move forward on. Tecton being, the moral center, because God, you don't want Taylor to be that,
No.
and
No.
making the big decisions. But when it comes into battlefield and getting the actual job done, you leave that up to Weaver. So.
Yeah. It's funny. Tecton reminds me so much of Weld a little bit. Like, he's such a good boy leader. Like, he's like encourages everybody, and he's like, keeps morale up. And Taylor's such like a bad bitch leader. Like, I think they play off each other really well. Like, that a little bit of that good cop, bad cop vibe was of like, he's like encouraging to the team, and like, it's okay, guys. Like, I know it's scary, but it will be okay. And Taylor's like, yeah, most of us are going to die today.
It's like
it's
you have a legend, and then you have Arms Master. It's like, we've got to kill him. We got to get in there. We got to do it.
We got to do it.
Whatever it takes. I'll kill every one of you if it means Behemoth goes down. It'll be worth it.
Yeah. Well, but I really love it, though. I love the two playing off of each other. I think it's a good kind of introduction for Taylor, like, because she's had to be so hard. She's had to be such a bad bitch, to be the villain of Brockton Bay. Like, and then pairing her up and like, kind of proving that, like, well, she knows what she's talking about. So like, we're going to give her a lot of leeway to be, the strategist here, to kind of lead the group, but also like a good intro into playing with the good guys kind of vibe. And it's just, I loved it. I thought that was a good call, but also like a good dynamic that I enjoy seeing together.
And we talked about it a bit briefly, I think, at the end of the last arc too, where because the Chicago wards were familiar with Taylor during the Echidna fight, there was this like little bit of like we can work with her. We've seen what she can do. Everybody else is sort of wanting to keep their distance recently, but they're fine. Like, they jump right in. They're like,
well, also the way that they first got introduced to her is like, okay, this is the local villain, but it took 5 seconds of talking to her to be like, oh, you seem not crazy. And like a very reasonable individual, and we're all on the same page about what we want to do. And then they get here and they're like, oh, you did a fantastic job. You are still a reasonable human being, and on top of that, you want to be a hero now. Like, why the heck wouldn't you want her on that team?
Yeah. I remember
and really,
Tecton, I was going to say, I remember Tecton in particular being very, very kind to Taylor, not in the sense of like actually kind, but in the sense of like, I'm going to give you a chance. You're a villain, I'm a hero, we're working together to fight Echidna. And then him kind of owning up to it and being like, no, yeah, she's legit. Like, yeah, she's great. It's a fun dynamic. I really like it.
I also think, post the revelation with Cauldron and the Triumvirate and all of that, there's got to be, because we only really get Taylor's perspective for all of this, but you've got to imagine that these other characters are also probably a bit fed up with leadership, and so you get Taylor, who sounds, pretty normal and makes a lot of sense and is a good fighter and all this kind of stuff. And and her distrust of the PRT was warranted. And like, you're a bad guy, but maybe you're not a bad guy.
Also at the end of that, like, especially for the people who were on site, like, oh, you get to the end of that fight, and she was like, oh, not only was she telling the truth about this being an S-class threat, and they didn't listen to her, but then she's like, also Cauldron, and people were like, what? And like, they're not forgetting of that. Like, oh yeah, she was, like you said, she was distrustful of the PRT. They fucked her over. And oh, look, turns out she was right the whole time. Not only was she right the whole time about them, she also was doing like good in the battlefield. Like,
right.
Once again, I really do feel like if anybody on that PRT team just really took a second to listen to Taylor,
Yeah.
like things would have been much different. And even like I love Miss Militia, and I'll give Weld kind of a pass. He doesn't really count in all of this, but I love Miss Militia. But she still is like, you are a villain. Whatever you say cannot be trusted. I will like not be as much of a dick, but I'm still going to be your enemy, like wholesale. And we get just like at the end of that, like once again, Taylor has never, of all the times she's come to the PRT, never lied to you guys about this, like or about anything. Like she's been very upfront about all this. She tried to work with Armsmaster. Like, look how that turned out. Like every step of the way has been them just failing to do a simple thing, which is listen. And granted, Taylor has all her own problems, but like ultimately it comes down to Tecton is like, yeah, let's, oh, sounds good. Like,
I mean, it feels like it just comes down to like on paper she looks bad, but in actuality she's been right on a lot of things, and she's made some pretty good calls when it comes to battlefield strategy. And like the only thing that's really holding her up is a lot of the paperwork of like, yes, she, this many counts of B&E, this many counts of assault, this many counts of whatever, and you're like, yeah, no, that sounds bad, but like if you get to know her and you see her in action, you go, oh, well, yeah, no, she seems to have her head screwed on pretty straight. So maybe she's an asset here.
Yeah.
If only.
If only.
I do like the lightning rod plan. Like again, I think one of the things that Taylor says, I think later in the arc, is she says, Tag gave me a 2 in basically every category of powers just to be on the safe side. But maybe there's something to that, like, hey, maybe there's like, maybe I do have some thinker and some tinker and some like all of these little abilities that add up to what she can do, because she always punches up in terms of what it seems like she should be able to do, not just with her powers, but also with just her ability to see the world, right? Like her ability to look at people and say, okay, if I put all of you guys together and we take what you can do, I think we can make a lightning rod to distract Behemoth. Like, who comes up with that kind of plan? Like, that's genius.
Which is a great idea, but I could have sworn in the previous arc that they talked about how his lightning did not follow conventional rules because he's like a dynakinetic, so he can actually control like how the lightning moves and stuff. So it is a little weird that they just have a lightning rod and it works and it doesn't just like avoid the lightning rod.
Well, it's because he assumes that it'll just go where he wants it, but he's not focused on it, right? It's sort of like an ambient power that he has. So I think the idea is sort of like, oh, if we build this, he has to focus on the lightning rod to pull the lightning away. That'll give people time to, regroup, move around, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least that was
is fair
feeling I got. Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, if they didn't, and granted, they might not have known the lightning was acting weird. I'll just give the benefit of doubt in this case. But I was like, the lightning rod, like, is that actually going to do anything when his power is to control energy? And like, you can just kind of point and be like, no, the lightning is not going that direction anymore.
I think it also just sets up the desperation from the very beginning of this fight, where like they're basically like, what the fuck are we gonna do against Behemoth? Like, I guess we'll try to draw some of the lightning away and see what that, like, it's already, they're like out of ideas,
Right.
like that's how desperate this is. There's like what they, like they've said, they kind of go through everything. They can't get close to him. They have no range, anything like that. Nothing that's gonna hurt him. Here's what they can do. They can help with evacuation and maybe snag a couple stray lightning bolts.
Yeah.
Like that's it, you know.
And it works. I mean, it definitely
Yeah.
works and helps a lot of the other capes like have time to get to safety, to get out of the way, like to back up away from his kill zone. Like it works really well, which is nice, you know.
Yeah. It does.
We need a win here.
Yeah.
Yeah. For real.
I love when they meet up with the Undersiders. Imp is like, oh, mommy and daddy back together. Like, I'm with Imp. I'm like totally swooning. I will say I do love the Gru and Skitter. The Gru and Weaver dynamic. Very much so.
No,
like
no,
them
Hannah.
playing off each other.
She'll
It's like,
always be Skitter to him.
she'll always be Skitter to him. I
Yeah.
know. Oh my
Like,
god.
also going off of movie
Where's
logic,
Kat
like,
when I need her?
you're so right. Gru should have been the first to die.
Yeah.
Like,
We're not going to talk about that.
we'll get to it eventually.
Well,
But yeah,
We'll
that's
get
just
to
going
that.
off the movie logic. We're like, oh no.
I mean, because Regent says, oh my gosh. Oh, okay. We're not gonna. Anyways, yes, no, it said multiple times. I'm not gonna cry yet. We're not at that point yet. It said multiple times that oh no, don't say goodbye. Don't make a big deal about things. Like, oh, you're hugging. Like, no, like don't hug. Like everything's fine. Like, don't make a bigger deal
Yeah,
out of it.
yeah.
Don't you know that's how people die?
Yep.
No, it upset me so much.
Oh
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Fine.
boy.
Chapter 2.
I will say I need y'all's help. I do have a note because I wrote like 2 notes for this entire arc. My note for the end of chapter 1 is the fuck, and I can't remember what the fuck was about.
Oh, I'll tell you what it is. It's Alexandria showing back up.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Literally,
Yeah. Yep.
literally, my summary for chapter 2 starts with Alexandria joins the fray. What the fuck? Taylor takes the wards underground with wounded. Contessa steals the injured capes deep below the city. Wards return to find Behemoth has devastated the defensive lines. That what the fuck is absolutely about Alexandria because what the fuck?
Yeah.
Also, I'll say this as sort of for this whole arc. This can kind of be a semi-aside between, for the dissecting worm, but man, they do not wait long to bring her back. Like,
I know, it's funny. I thought I remembered it being longer. But no.
And there's a couple issues which we'll bring up later, but she is gone for an arc.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, no, she's gone for an arc, singular, which granted,
Well, I mean, we had the Endbringer show up real fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
But still, like, she is gone for arc 23. That is it. Like, she's all in the entirety of arc 22. Like, and then here she is literally, 24.1. Now, granted, I think that reading this week to week would be a different experience because at this
Very
point,
true.
I'll just take a guess and say that I'm not going to look it up, but I'm just going to say at least a month and a half has probably passed in real time of
Mhm.
like you've read. No. I'll even go further than that. It's probably been at least 2 months from the, Alexandria dying to all of this happening. And then all of a sudden you read her coming back. And so I feel like that
doesn't seem right. 2 months?
No,
Yeah.
in release time, back when
Like-
Wildbow was releasing.
There's probably 2 chapters per week.
Gotcha.
Maybe with an interlude extra on the
gotcha.
weekend or something.
Yeah.
So,
My bad.
It's been 2 months since readers have seen Alexandria die to Alexandria showing back up.
Right.
Reading
gotcha.
this time, especially, like, it's so fast. It's so fast in comparison. Like,
Yeah. We
and
did.
especially since the last, I'll be honest, these past couple of arcs, well, I'll look up how big they are. They felt kind of short to me.
They have been
Like,
short
they
in
felt
comparison.
short in length of arc, but long in chapter length.
Mm.
Um,
I
So,
feel like they
yeah.
have been like because I do listen to most of the reading, except much like Jacob, I also
Yeah.
read a lot of this arc. But no, I think most of the episodes are like an hour long. Like the two,
Yeah. So like 10,000 words, and then there's like,
yeah, it's a lot.
you know, so, and that's, there's only 6 chapters if we include the interlude in
Yeah,
arc 23. 60,000. That's a pretty big, chunk.
yeah, that's a,
Right.
that's
You
that's a
know,
huge chunk.
that's half a book most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, it's pretty large. But then, like, yeah, and all of a sudden we're back. So for me, I just was like, oh, Alexandria's back. And I remember reading this for the first time and being like, whoa, that's weird.
well, I think it does well if you're like me and you don't remember and you think, "Oh my god, wait, is she still alive?" Because there's no way that if she like let's say that for as a first time reader as a second time reader with Wormnesia, you don't remember things and it's like Alexandria shows up and I was like, "Holy shit, wait, did Taylor not kill her? Like, has she been alive this whole time?" Like, it makes sense that she hasn't, shown up before now. It's like, well, she's been actually secretly recuperating and now she shows up just in time. And then it's not until later that we get the reveal of like what's actually going on. But as the first time reader or like as myself, like I was convinced. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Alexandra is back." Like, I really hope she doesn't see Taylor because that could turn this whole situation sideways like really quick and it end up being an Alexandria Taylor fight rather than let's focus on the big bad
Right.
here. So like I was thinking of it very much in the sense of like, oh my gosh, no, she's back. So if there had been like a multitude of arcs in between, I think having her come back would have been like, no, there's no way that's her if there had been all this space. But because it's so quick after her death, it feels like, oh my gosh, wait, no, that's actually her. She's back.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Right.
it because it's so soon, it gets you. Whereas if there were a longer space, I don't think you would be as because the whole idea is to make you think that she's actually still alive.
Right.
It's to trick you. So like I think if there was more space, we wouldn't be tricked as easily.
Yeah, I still think when she showed up though, I was like, I don't remember what, but I feel like remembering something fucky's going on.
Something fucky wucky.
It's
Well,
like, I don't know.
we did just have Pretender show up in the previous arc, so like it works. I just had
That's
not
true. That's
remembered
true.
that connection at all. Yeah, no, so Taylor takes the wards, and they're like rescuing some of the wounded, and they go underground. I don't know if I was reading this correctly. So, okay, so the underground, like, there's like a whole living situation thing, compound underground, which is where they end up going. Are these the cold capes from India? India's cold
Yes.
capes that are like behind the scenes that people don't know about? Because we've talked about them before, like the hot versus cold capes.
Yeah, I
And
think
these are the
Taylor even says that these
okay.
because she looks at the guy who's like leading them underground, the leader of this what appears to be
The
a
cat eyes.
cat
guy.
eyes, kind of this civilian resistance to Behemoth. And she realizes like, wait a second, these aren't just regular people.
Hmm.
And this is where the guy gives the whole like secret war thing where he's like, we can't just come out and fight, we fight a
Mhm.
secret war. Better to lose this battle today in New Delhi than lose our
Mhm.
secret war of what we've been doing in the whole country.
Which they basically end up losing anyways by following Contessa.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, not all of them do. It's just some of the wounded capes. I think some of the. Well, no, I think
Yeah.
all of them do. Maybe I don't know.
I feel like they all go through the portal. It's like
The thing is, though,
I don't know.
I get the sense though that some of them already had connections to Cauldron, and this was
Mm.
basically her way of saying, "All right, time to pay your due." Like everybody has a
Oh.
favor with Cauldron, and her basically maybe to Cat Eyes
Oh.
or to another of the leaders, just saying, like they know who she is, and they're like, "Okay, time to go."
Yeah.
Just the vibe I get.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't thought about that. That makes sense. Because it seemed like they were all so willing to just like hop into a portal, which like, yeah, I understand like your whole city is crumbling, but like you're all underground. You seem pretty safe.
And let me
Yeah.
say this too. There's nothing hotter than a woman who dominates the battlefield.
It's like, what if Carmen San Diego wore black? Like,
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
whew. Man,
Let's
that's right. Like, and what's your power? Winning. I have the Charlie Sheen shard.
I
Charlie
wins.
Sheen. Yes.
Yeah.
I love
Bang and
Contessa because she's sort of in the background this whole time, and she just kind of feels like the main character. Like secretly, like we're watching. Like part of we've talked about what makes Wormer so great is that we're not following the main character. We're following the main character of our story, but Taylor really feels like a very very small piece of this puzzle intentionally. Like it's just an everyday hero. It's very Spider-Man-esque. I love it.
If this were, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, just kind of wrap that thought up. Every time Contessa's in this, on stage, so to speak, she feels like the main character. Like, oh, here's the protagonist with the power to win. Like,
Yeah. She's having her Superman moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, and on top of that too, like if you had, the classic trope of like the YA novel with the heroine who, like, they're like, oh, it's such a struggle, but then they do nothing wrong and everything's always perfect for them. That's basically Contessa because she has the power to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit right there. Let me tell you what. And then also just the convenient excuse of like, it doesn't work on the Endbringers. Or me.
Yeah. Well, if you can always win, why haven't you beaten them? Just doesn't work. Oh, okay.
I'm afraid it just doesn't work like that. It's like, all right.
Maybe they can't be beaten.
I did like that aspect of it though, where Taylor, where she's like, well, maybe it's not that it doesn't work, it's that there's no way to win, which is a scary, scary thought that she has.
Because it's not just like, I feel like Contessa's thing is specifically her path to victory.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, even if she factors in other people, like, the Triumvirate, Protectorate, any of the wards, literally anybody, like there's no way that she can find a path to victory. It's like we see the whole thing with Scion later, but like that has nothing to do with her. Like that's a separate thing. That's a separate entity right there.
And I think it's also implied that it's how she tries to get there, right? Like,
right, yeah.
If she had told her power, like, put me in a position where I witness Behemoth dying, like, would it have worked then?
Yeah, maybe so.
It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I also don't know if it like connects to people. Like, I imagine it's like, okay, you need to, go outside at 3:30 on this day and bump into this person who's gonna, fall into the street, and that's gonna cause this car to swerve, and then this is gonna like how many layers does that thing go? Like, I imagine it fairly deep, but also like, shit, Scion's kind of like unreachable at the moment.
I mean, we know Accord has a power that basically works like that, but literally on paper.
Yeah.
There's man, if you gave him, I mean, there's a lot of steps. It's a couple binders full of steps, but man.
Yeah.
There is so what this kind of brings to mind for me with her power, I don't know if this is exactly the way it works, but in one of Brandon Sanderson's novels, Mistborn, there is a power essentially that lets you see the possible moves that your opponent is about to do in the next 5 seconds. So you see sort of a shadow of what they're going to do in the next 5 seconds. I kind of imagine maybe her power's like that. I I don't know.
Mhm.
That's maybe a bit of a stretch, but I like that idea of like she can just see all possible ways that you might try to beat her and then perfectly counteract it, right?
Well,
I mean,
I believe it's
you're
more simple
just
than that.
I was going to say, you're just describing the absolutely terrible, and by terrible, I mean amazing Nicolas Cage film Next, where he has the power, or he has the superpower, he exists 2 minutes in the future. And so he basically lives infinitely between now and the next 2 minutes and can calculate every single possibility of what's about to happen.
That's
Great
funny.
movie.
Yeah.
Everybody should watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, I was going to go with. I imagine that there is, much like Donnie Darko, a line that just kind of shows where to go,
Yeah.
what to do, like an actual physical line, and then she just does it,
Right.
winning.
Yeah. Just like,
All
like
I
a little
do is
roadmap.
win, no matter what.
I mean, if
Basically.
that's
Very
what it
cool
took to win, she
Thank
would
you,
blare
Nick.
that. Yes.
She just nobody notices that she has AirPods in when she fights, and it's just that song on repeat.
Yeah. Right.
It's part of the winning. I have to play this.
I like to imagine that she just has like how to shoot people for dummies playing on her AirPods, and she's just following the instructions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's her power, just being like, and
Yeah.
when you hold the gun, make sure to grasp firmly with both hands. Like it's just just her power being like, go left. It's just a GPS in her head of like, and twist and duck.
Slide to the left. Slide to
In
the right.
2 seconds.
Crisscross.
Yeah, exactly. In 2 seconds, crisscross. I love that.
And I think she also implies though that like she can kind of subconsciously let her power work, right? So that it's sort of moving for her and she doesn't have to constantly think about like each step
Yeah.
she's making is
Yeah.
You
perfectly
just
correct.
pick the thing and let it go.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like Imp's power, right? Where it's
Yeah. Kind of the vibe. Honestly, kind of similar to Domino from Deadpool 2, where she's just kind of lucky. It's sort of similar to that, where she's just like, Domino's is like, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm supposed to be here. It feels like the right place to be. I'm always lucky.
It's that, but if it was willful, like
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to do this,
exactly.
so all the things will work out.
Yeah,
what a cool power, though.
it's cool. I love Contessa. Great character.
Yeah, love the design, love the power, love the
Mhm.
character. Let's go.
Love just the cool chill of like Taylor realizing, oh my god, she's not even like phased. She's not even touched. She has literally not a scratch on her, barely even any dirt, and just absolutely demolished these poor teenagers. Just wrecked them.
Yeah.
Or like her cuff is wrinkled. Like she has one little shirt cuff that's got a little spray of
Yeah, one of the things that
blood on
she
it.
like
okay.
does with her power is like, okay, tell me how to beat them, but without ruining my suit.
Yeah.
And she had little caveats in there.
Oh no, it can't be done.
It's not just about winning. It's about winning with style.
Yeah,
That's right.
always goes back to the great Megamind quote, right?
Oh yeah.
You may
Yes.
be a villain, but you're not a supervillain. Oh yeah, what's the difference? Presentation.
Fuck yeah.
It's true.
Mm.
It is true.
Such a good movie. God.
I mean, it's one of the
Uh,
best superhero movies out there, to be honest.
I feel like it is.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
really love it.
Yeah, top
Like,
5 for sure.
it's just that good.
Unsheath your churro.
All right, 24.3.
Let's do it.
Moving on.
Chapter 3. Taylor helps evacuate the building, getting people off the roof, and then finally has a chance to talk to Tattletale and searches for Behemoth's objective, as Tattletale has told her that he is hunting for something specific. She, with some great thinkers, find I'm gonna butcher this. Fierce?
Yeah, that's
Fierce.
how they
Like
pronounce it.
Fierce.
For once,
Is
the
it
like
audiobook
Fierce?
said Fierce, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, that makes sense.
I always
Yep.
thought it was Fierce C, but yeah,
Fierce-
Fierce.
Oh,
We'll go with that.
no.
Fierce.
Okay,
Come on, we were
Fierce.
so close.
Fierce
Unified.
finds Fierce and his time bomb. It's
Yes.
just
This
Woof.
guy, is it just me or is he like really strong? Like, cause
Man,
he's very strong.
I love there is a book. I'm trying to remember which sci-fi book it is. But in it, essentially a dude comes up with portal technology, throws the first portal into the sun because portals take a lot of energy, and then he just uses all the energy coming through that portal to power all the other portals. And like that's how rocket boosters are made for ships from then on, is they just take the energy and they make tiny nozzle portals that are coming from the sun that you just like open and close so that, it boosts out. So like that's how we get all this travel and
Mm,
like all the technology is essentially portal based from then on. Because you essentially have an unlimited energy source.
interesting.
But this makes me think like it really shows how cool using like portal usage can be. And in this, he just takes a little bit of light, and if you just keep like this infinite like loop where it's recursive and it builds up speed essentially, like he's just keeps charging the light over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and he
Like-
says, I feel like somebody says, he's like, not that he's on the level of Sleeper or Nilbog, but that Fierce is known as one of the scariest villains in this area,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like, am I
Which is-
misremembering that somebody says that?
No, I think you're right.
No, they're like terrified of him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for apparently very good reason. Like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, we've all played Portal. We know what you can do with when you're thinking with
Yeah.
portals.
Yeah,
Thinking with
yeah,
portals.
exactly.
All that being said, they're like, he's a madman. I'm like, nah. Fiercey seems pretty on par. I don't know.
You know what it
Like,
is?
I didn't
Yeah.
was not questioning him at all. I was just like, yeah, no, that seems about right.
No.
Go for it,
You
man.
know what it is too is right. The vibe that he gives me is like Taylor's logic pushed to a deeper extreme, right? Only in the sense that everything he says feels really reasonable to me. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. Like, I'm really on board with everything you're saying. Like, maybe the risk is worth the reward. And Taylor pushes back because she's like, this seems like a really bad idea with Behemoth's powers. And he's like, I don't know. What other shot do we have? I feel like it's worth the risk. And how many times has Taylor said stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
No,
that
like,
I feel
exact
that's what
thing.
he's known for.
I was like, yeah, hey, can you give me time to, I don't know, get people out of the way or something like that? I didn't feel like this really needed to be a big ethical argument here. Now, don't get me wrong. I love having that discussion. I
Mhm.
love the way it was written. I love all that. This is one of those where like this really doesn't need to happen. I'm actually surprised Taylor sits there and jibber jabs for so long when it's like, okay, you know what? I don't think it'll work. And he's like, I mean, look, I'm gonna do it. And she's like, okay, well, if you're gonna do it, give me time to get people out of the way. That's literally as long as that conversation should have been.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, look, I'm doing it one way or the other, and it's the best chance we got. And she's like, you know what? Fine. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I do feel like this is a good chance to talk about Behemoth's powers too and why Taylor is so worried. Because Behemoth is basically dynakinetic, right? Everything he does is energy based. And it's such a cool power, right? So like when Alexandria hits him, he can take the pure kinetic energy and push it into the ground around him. And because, fire is basically
I mean, it's basically
pure.
what Madcap could do.
Yeah, exactly. Except like to a total extreme. But because fire and lightning are like the purity of, energy, so to speak, it's just such a cool way to see it and be like, oh, fire is just energy. Lightning is just energy to an extreme. That's all this is. And it's great. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What would it look like if you're just converting energy into mass? It's like we see that. That's
Yeah.
what fire. That's fire. Yeah.
Yeah. energy, and then radiation is, I guess, energy related. Probably. I'm not a scientist. Let's call Hank Green, or John Green, whichever one it is. Whichever of the
They're both
Greens.
smart.
They're both pretty smart. One of them's more history, though, right? Anyways, Greens aside, I don't know. I really like that. Like, I just really like Behemoth's power set. He's so much more interesting than Leviathan. I'm sorry. Like, just as a creature, he's like 1,000 times more interesting than Leviathan.
Oh, I like Leviathan.
I like Leviathan.
I like my little water lizard.
That's the thing, is like, I love Leviathan. I think he's super cool. I just think he doesn't stand up to how cool Behemoth is.
He's Behemoth's little bro. Like, he's the little bro. He's like, I got water. And Behemoth's like, that's cute.
Basically.
Like,
Leviathan's at the skate park all day, and Behemoth's like working the 9 to 5. Like, hey, rent's due. Come on.
I was gonna say that is very much.
Why I like Leviathan.
That's why I like Leviathan. Leviathan comes in and hits so hard, and it's just like skating all over the place. Just destroying people. And Behemoth is just kind of like walking, just plodding slowly with just a kill
Godzilla,
field
right?
around him.
He's a kind of a
Godzilla
people. Yeah. You know what I just thought of, though, as a funny, just this image came into my head, and I'm sorry, but I'm just imagining now Leviathan skating through Main Street of Brockton Bay with the song like "Making My Way Downtown."
Yes.
Killing capes.
It's great. It's great.
So good.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like Behemoth. I like his power set. Again, I think he is a lot more interesting than the others. Or not the others. I'll say than Leviathan. I think the Simmer is the most weird. So that's cool.
Oh, she's by far the fucking
the most unconventional.
My favorite.
Yeah. She's really cool.
Behemoth definitely leads the pack in terms of that, like you said, sort of that kaiju feeling of just despair. Where like,
is it like Gamera from Godzilla, the turtle? I think.
Yeah. I don't know my Godzilla lore enough. But yeah, like Leviathan is crazy strong and terrifying and destructive, but like in the back of your mind feels beatable, right? Same with the Simmer, like crazy, weird, witchy vibes, but like feels beatable just in general.
Behemoth, you could only get your hands on her neck. Like,
right, yeah, exactly. Behemoth has that sort of Godzilla aura where you're just like, what? It doesn't even feel like you could win this. What?
Yeah.
You can't even get close to him.
Yeah, like with the whole kill aura thing, and just like with Taylor saying, like, at least with Leviathan, I could pick up Armsmaster's spear and stab him. But like, what do you do with Behemoth? He just is.
Right.
Yeah.
Just is. Big dick swinging.
Yeah, you're going from something that is what, like, I think Leviathan's like 30 feet, so like twice the size of a single story house, to something that is 50 feet. So, 3-story plus.
Yeah, 50 feet is big. That is a tall boy.
It is.
Tall boy.
Yeah. Hannah, for reference, still not as tall as the trees outside.
That's our pine trees.
Yeah. Our pine trees are probably 85 feet tall.
Dang.
So he is like 3/5 of that.
Yeah.
It's still fucking huge, man.
It's huge, but every time I remember reading these books for the first time and being very confused at Leviathan's size. Because when he's described, not in terms of his exact height when they say it, but his vibe is, it's Godzilla with water. Like, so when he comes in and he's doing like a hand-to-hand combat with Armsmaster, all of a sudden, I'm a little confused because I'm like, what are you doing? Running around poking him in the ankle? Like, how is this working? So I've had to adjust how I've thought of Leviathan every time I've read it. Like, he's literally gotten smaller every time. And when I think about Behemoth, same thing. Behemoth is supposed, like, I was always imagining Godzilla size. We are talking hundreds of feet tall, not, in the tens. I think Godzilla is like what? I'm just going to say
Like skyscraper.
I'm going to say 600 feet tall. It's probably something shorter than that. It's probably like 200 feet. But like, we are talking like, wandering between skyscrapers. Like that's hundreds of feet. And Behemoth, like going through downtown New York wouldn't, like, you'd have to find him, if that makes sense.
you have to get on the roof and look down.
You're like, where is he? Like, because he's not even taller than any of the buildings.
393 feet tall.
Yeah, 390 feet.
Godzilla.
So he is. Godzilla is 6 times 7. So 390. I'm doing 8 times. 8 times as big as Behemoth.
I mean, like, they even mentioned that in that, like, Taylor loses sight of him at one point, if I remember right.
Because he's like digging at one point.
He dives down.
Well, not just that he dives down, but like he's behind a building, and she's like, "Shit, how close is he to us right now? We can't see him," kind of thing.
For a perfect visual reference, the Iron Giant is 50 feet. So Behemoth is the size of the Iron Giant. Yeah,
I've never seen that.
Hannah.
Oh my!
Hannah!
I knew that would make people upset.
I beg your fucking pardon? Wow!
Also, I'm gonna do a tree comparison with the Iron Giant and tell you if that's accurate.
I would love. If Alan could just compare everything to the pine trees in our yard, that would be phenomenal.
Helps out.
Bring it home.
So he's big. He's big, but he's not.
He's a big
he's
boy.
not Pacific Rim.
But we're not talking like absolute world demolisher here. We're talking just a big boy.
Which I kind of like. I like that size because it's a
little bit more manageable.
Yeah, it feels like they could win. It gives them gives them better odds.
Yeah, until you realize that the kill range on Behemoth is like, you get any closer and your brain melts in your head and you have irreversible damage, radiation damage. And also, if you get too close and he does his little clappy clap, his little
Wha-bam.
Then your brain is coming out of your ears.
You fuck.
What did someone say that someone had gotten, they were talking, this is near the end of the arc, so they're talking about injuries, and someone had gotten an injury from their bones, like vibrating so hard their bones had broken.
Oh yeah,
from being too close to the smack.
Suffered fractures from the clap. Yeah.
Yeah, from the clap. I like calling it just the clap. But like that's terrifying that like your whole body is vibrating from the sound. So much so that your bones will break. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, it really does, like you said this before, Jacob, it really does feel like this battle is not, like, we're not going to win this. Like, compared to what we went with Leviathan and even Noelle, like, even with Noelle being as insane as that was, like, Tattletale had a plan. We had a plan. We were working on, something manageable scale. But Behemoth is like, it feels like we're running out of capes and we're running out of time and we're running out of options and the end is nigh. Like, that is the vibe I was getting reading these chapters.
Right. Yeah.
And so to tie it back into literally the chapter we are talking about with the time bomb, it feels like this could be it. This could, you know what? And if it destroys New Delhi, I'm with him on that one. Like, I think maybe it's worth it. We've evacuated a ton of people. Most of the capes are dead. Like, I think, like, we're stupid if we don't use it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now's the time. Chapter 4. Any more thoughts on chapter 3?
Nope.
Moving on.
Okay, chapter 4. Taylor convinces Fierce to work with the others. And gathers a few allies, and then cuts Behemoth off at the knee. Woo! Go dogs. Fierce strikes with the time bomb, and Behemoth rises as a ripped up mess, but still as strong, which is just felt like the dark night of the soul. That was not fun for him to just stand up and realize that, like, oh no, he may look like shit, but he seems just as strong as he was a moment ago.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Yeah, it's like burning all the skin off a Terminator, and then that skeleton's just walking around
Yeah.
still after you.
This is not even my final form.
Yeah. Also, going all the way back into the cave, like talking to the one, because I liked that one dust tinker. That was pretty cool. But I think the dust tinker is the one that Taylor like knows that he's going to shoot Fiercey or try something, and so she like yanks the gun so it doesn't shoot anything, and then he gets yoinked out of there.
Oh yeah,
And she
there's a
was like, "Oh,
teleporter with
oh,
Fierce
right.
as well. That
yeah."
just
She's like, "Oh, did I set him up?" I'm like, we just heard you think about it. Like, yes, you set him up. It's like, oh, I did, and And granted, this is supposed to play into like the subconsciously her using her powers, except she very consciously did. Like, which we'll get
also
into later.
speaking
with
of
some other
plans
stuff.
that could have gone wrong, if that one tinker was mistaken in how he was going to deal with the big time bomb, like that would have been so much
Yeah.
worse than
Oh, yeah.
actually using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't fear say that is like if it just indiscriminately goes off, India's gone. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, if I charge this thing up and I don't release it correctly, we lose a continent.
Yeah.
Which is a wild amount of power.
I mean, he's trying to stay awake. That's the other thing. Is like Fierce is trying to. He's been awake for 3 days because he knows that like at any point, Behemoth could attack, and they don't know when it's going to be, but they need to be prepped and ready anyways.
Yeah.
And so he's been awake for 3 days, prepping and pouring all this time and energy into the time bomb, and then it's like he's trying not to fall asleep in the middle of his conversation with Taylor. Like, oh no,
Yeah.
that could go badly.
Yeah, maybe not the smartest play. I get it, but in hindsight, maybe
I
should
mean,
have.
big plays like that, like there's gonna be big drawbacks. So I mean, I guess it kind of works. Like for
Well, and that's his
for,
whole thing too, right? Like he's all
yeah.
about sacrifice and
right.
yeah, because he sacrificed his family, right?
Yeah, his family died. His wife and son, and then his daughter is in New Delhi, and he doesn't know if she's evacuated yet or not.
Yeah, he's like, I could have saved him, but I didn't. That way, the monster lost. Or I'm paraphrasing how he said that, but yeah.
Oh man, it's
Weaver's
tough.
like, I get it.
Yeah, it's such a good scene though, and I do feel like it's good. It's always good for Taylor to get a mirror to herself, and I think that Fierce is a good mirror.
Yeah. I like him and her dynamic.
Yeah. He's a good character. But yeah, so he gives her a 15-minute time limit, and it's like, all right, 15 minutes, or it gets really bad, and then like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna blow it up.
I'm gonna go for it, whether your people are out of the way or not. Yeah.
And go.
I think it's interesting because she's trying to count down the time in her head, and at one point she's like, I can't remember if it's 3 minutes or 8 minutes, and like those 5 minutes in between could mean all the difference.
Mm-hmm. And even then, just the impending of like, but what if he just thinks I'm not doing a good enough job? He's like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like she says that she can't help but like him, like as a person. And I wonder if that is like the self-reflection that she sees of like parts of herself in him, the fact that like he's willing to just do what needs to be done, and like the way that he talks and the way that he kind of sees the situation, and like that being that mirror. Like I wonder if she's as aware of it as we are, that like, yeah, you guys tend to be pretty decent mirrors of each other, and like maybe she sees that a little bit by recognizing like, yeah, I actually like this guy.
Yeah, they're very similar.
The other thing that happens in this chapter that I didn't say, but while they're off in midst the fight, We lose Regent, which is just shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, Imp is cornered as they're trying to, pin Behemoth down so that they can use the time bomb. And she's kind of cornered, and he says, "Fuck it." And he goes out to distract Behemoth and takes a lightning strike.
It's so sudden. I
It's
had
fast.
I had to stop it and like rewind a bit on the
Yeah,
audiobook because it was like it was there and it was gone. I was like, oh my God. I missed it.
Yeah. At that point I was reading, but went back 2 paragraphs just to see if, I don't know, not to see a sign that it was coming, because, I think that's what makes it good writing, is that it happens so quickly. You don't, because that's how death is. Like, death isn't, you don't get that sappy, sad moment. Like, death is pretty, usually, not always, but usually pretty quick. And it feels right that Regent went out protecting Imp,
Yeah.
Like, he's, like, we've talked before a lot about how he's not a good person,
Yeah.
especially with, when we heard quite a bit from Cherish. But we've also seen, like, how protective he is of the Undersiders, and specifically with Imp, like their friendship, their camaraderie, their, relationship, whatever that might have been. Like, he clearly knew that it wasn't gonna, like, he had to have known in that moment.
Yeah.
No, I love that his instinct, his immediate response. He is an incredibly he is written and introduced and portrayed as an incredibly selfish character, but his base instinct is selflessness.
Yeah.
And like that's his final moment is an outburst of it's a selfless action done out of love, and like that's not the action of a villain. And I think it's a really, really beautiful send off to a complex character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my
100%.
favorite characters in the Undersiders,
Yeah.
Like, it's I was reading these chapters today, and I'm feeling a little sick, under the weather, so I was in bed and just laying in bed crying, bawling my eyes out.
Oh.
And it's not even just losing Regent, as awful as that is, but the amount of life that gets snuffed out in this arc. And I mean, that's the same thing happened with the Leviathan fight and the Echidna fight, but here it just feels more desperate. It feels more hopeless. And then, like, knowing that sorry.
It's okay.
It's good writing.
So good. God, Wild Bow. But knowing that, like, these capes are showing up here. No, they know the odds. They know that there's a very real possibility that they will not walk away, or they'll walk away completely fucked up. And like, even in the interludes later with Chevalier, he mentions that there are capes that didn't go, that didn't show up to this fight. The Las Vegas capes, I think he mentions, and a couple other capes that just decided they weren't going to go to the fight, and that heavily impacted their strategy for how to deal with Behemoth. And, like, I don't know, it's just,
Yeah.
anytime we have big fights like this, it always just hits me really hard, and hits me in a way that's like they're fake characters on a page, but, like, I've never been more proud of a bunch of fake people.
And I think for Regent too, kind of like what Jacob said, even though he is presented as that selfish character, I feel like most people that, I mean, among us and among like the people we've talked to about it, most people still come away from it being like, I mean, yeah, but he's like the scoundrel you love, you know?
Yeah.
He's like the Han Solo in episode 4. Not that Han Solo was as bad as Regent, but like but you know,
Yeah.
the guy who's like,
Yeah.
he's kind of an asshole, but you love him. Like you want him to stick
Yeah.
around and be there. And then, to have this act of sacrifice be so real and so meaningful and so quick too, I think,
Yeah.
it just really drives it home of like, this was not, you know, Regent had to think and make a big choice and decided after deliberating he'd do the right thing. This was just, no, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to save Imp. And he does. And it's beautiful.
Oh, fuck it.
Yeah. Last,
Fuck it.
And then, of course, he gets Behemoth's attention. I don't remember exactly what he says, but I just remember it having the vibe of like, hey, fucko.
Yeah.
Shit nugget, I think.
Shit nugget, maybe.
Shit nugget. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like
hold
that,
on.
yeah.
Hold on. I was just looking at it. Pull it up. real quick.
The Imp afterwards. You're right. He would have wanted me to kill his dad.
I love that. That's just it's so Imp and gosh, in that moment, it's just so perfect.
Yeah. It's good. It's just a good scene, and you can't help but love Regent, and you can't help but miss him.
He says, hold on, I found it. Fuck it, Regent said. Oh, no, he says it very quietly, actually. Fuck it, Regent says, his voice almost inaudible. He was looking at Imp. Regent, I said. When he rose to his feet, I raised my voice. Regent! Hey, shit crumb! Regent hollered, backing away from cover. Easy! And then, that's it. Behemoth dropped the flame attack. Regent was snuffed out, dead. I wonder if I feel like he was probably saying, like, easy target, maybe? Like that I'm an easy target.
Yeah.
Like, pick me instead of...
Something like that.
Send me back into the... Oh, fuck. It's fine. I'm okay. God damn it.
We'll be right back
blame it
after a
on the
word from our
fact-
sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'll
really good
tell
time
you,
to...
Cut away.
Time for an ad break.
I will draw this back down. There are 2 spots when I have recommended Worm to people that people stop reading Worm. Like it was what loses their interest. Oftentimes people who I've suggested this will stop reading at arc 5. Something in arc 4 more. There's something they do. I think the bank heist is 3. I forgot what 4 is, but they kind of lose interest in there. And it upsets me because I'm like, you really just need to get to 8. You really just need to get to 8 and make that decision. But, I'm not going to fault people for if 3 episodes of a show don't catch you, like, why watch 24? Like,
Right.
in the second season it gets good. Like, I'm not going to watch a whole season to get to, that.
Right.
Unless it's
But a lot of people that if superheroes just aren't their thing, or they just they didn't vibe with the main character being a teenage girl, like understand that's a lot of people fall away there. However, a couple of people that I have suggested to that have DNF'd Worm all happened with the death of Regent, because when Regent got killed, they realized they really didn't care. They didn't care that Regent died. And that, like, they were surprised, honest to God, that so many characters had made it this far, given the, like, nature of the book. That, like, the Undersiders were still a team that was alive.
Yeah.
And this was the moment when Regent finally kicks it, that they were like, oh, like, yeah, I don't really buy this anymore. And like, to have it come back to this and read this again. I've never been broken up about Regent dying. Just like, oh, wow, and this time it really stood out, having, heard those voices before and getting to this point. I was like, yeah, he, like, honestly, this whole fight other than introducing to the new team and Pharisee and Contessa, like the fight with Behemoth, like the interactions with Behemoth himself, for me, are very forgettable. I don't care about this fight at all. And the interactions with the Undersiders are also like, I just didn't care about any of this. If so, for me personally, I just this is not an exciting arc. The best parts are, I don't know, the beginning and the end.
It's cool. I'm not crying anymore. Now I'm just fucking mad.
I know you would be mad. That's why I waited.
Oh man.
But this is another one of those things where I think I think part of this would have been spacing. I think reading this week to week, and maybe just being in the moment of reading it would be a lot more impactful for the death of Regent for me. And I do think I am very surprised that people like Gru have survived as long as they have. Like,
yeah, I will give you that. I think if there was any other Undersider that would have made sense for us to lose, Gru would have been that one. And I hate saying it because, love him. But it feels like it does feel weird that it has taken us this long, arc 24 to lose a single Undersider.
Yeah. And truth be told, like, if we'd lost, because I thought about this, like, is it just that it's Regent and I don't care about Regent? Which is, is it that I just don't like him? And then we get to like other characters. I'm like, well, what if, what if Tecton died? I mean, like, that's upsetting. He's a likable character, but I also wouldn't be broken up about that. This is an Endbringer fight. It is very tragic, but on a scale that I don't know, is almost numbing.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree with that for sure.
And it made me continue to think like, yeah, like really, we have not seen too much death of characters that we actually know.
Yeah.
Like the reason I think Alexandria, while a big moment, like the Alexandria tag thing is, I think you're taking two characters, one that we've heard of and who has this sort of big, I mean, both of them have these big antagonistic moments with Taylor. All the people that are villains essentially that get beat up, I honestly have more emotional ties to, because like when we kill Coyle, that's a huge emotional moment, but for the positive, because like, oh my gosh, we got him. When Taylor kills Alexandria and Tag, you're like, oh my gosh, we got them. But I'm trying to think about death of heroes that we've seen that I cared about. And I can't think of any. Like there's been Brian getting tortured, which I very tragic. I like that one, haunts me to this day. I think the twisting, Amy twisting Victoria, also very tragic. But in terms of like death, and it doesn't have to be death, but like given a world in which we've encountered Leviathan, we've encountered Echidna, we've encountered Behemoth now, nobody we really care about has died. And while this isn't a grimdark, and I'm not expecting it to be, this isn't that much of a hang-up issue for me. I think other people who have read this, and I see their point, when they get into a world that is kind of trying to portray a lot of realism, and we are talking, the 1 in 4 chances and defying the odds, like, Imp probably has a good chance because you can't tell where she is, but I don't know if I would have her on this battlefield. Tattletale, once again, Tattletale getting almost killed in the thing and doing the tracheotomy and surviving again, like, kind of feels like, oh, like I would have been, number one, I would have been pissed if Cody killed Tattletale in an interlude.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? But let's just say that was like if Tattletale had died, in, you know, I probably would have actually been miffed. Like, but like, what's Regent doing here? Like, what's Gru doing here? Like, Gru should have died Gru should have died in the Slaughterhouse 9. Let's be honest. Like,
I actually was thinking the same thing.
like this is a team of like Rachel. I mean, should have been goaded into something. Like, it just doesn't feel like this is the group of people that should have been winning this whole time. And I feel that on like a big scale. So, just as the contrarian opinion, this is like one of my least favorite. And we've been going through like the least favorite arcs, and I remember why people don't like the time skip and the ones surrounding it. And I get it now. Like, I don't think I've never singled out arcs in my mind as ones that I don't like, but, and it's not the writing. Like I said, I love the Fiercey. I love Contessa. I love interacting with the wards, but overall, like the arc as a whole just isn't there for me.
We
That's
all have
interesting.
opinions.
We do.
And Allens are the most wrong.
I know everybody's entitled to their own wrong opinion.
That's okay.
No, it's good. I mean, obviously, I think we tend to agree with each other a lot more than not. So it's nice to have some varying opinions on it, because obviously Worm fans are very passionate about things they like and don't like. So
Yeah.
I think it's good to represent kind of all sides of the story. You are wrong, but it's good to represent,
Well,
every
and
opinion.
I think it is good to notice, though, that there has been a good sense of plot armor, right? Even for characters who are important, like Armsmaster. We didn't really like him, but he survived Leviathan. When maybe he shouldn't have. Like, it's hard to know, like, okay, maybe he shouldn't have survived that. Not nearly that many people died from the Slaughterhouse 9, supposedly the most dangerous. I can see
Mhm.
that. I do want to bring up Mirrodin, just because I'm sad that Merlin died.
Yeah,
Like that.
Right.
that was not a fun time.
As
That's
somebody who
fair.
aspires to
Fair.
become Merlin one day as an old man, that was disappointing. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where you're coming from, because we haven't had that many heroic deaths. We haven't had that many people putting themselves in harm's way completely selflessly and then taking the hit for it, right? And part of that may be because we are looking at it from a villain's perspective primarily, right? She was a villain for most of the story. So when the people they were fighting died, or when somebody who was kind of an ally died, it's like, okay. Like, if Trickster had died by the end of his arc, we would have been like, you might like Trickster's powers. I know, Alan, you hate him, but like, no matter how you feel about him, like, he's a villain. He died, whatever. I think, like, if you imagine if the story had been told, like, say, from Legend's perspective, and you get that visceral feeling when Hero gets killed by Siberian and he's carrying him away, cut in half basically entirely. Like, I feel like that would have hit harder, maybe, if that makes sense. But because we
Yeah.
don't really know those characters, it's just kind of like, oh, that was gruesome. Anyways.
Honestly, now that I
Yeah.
think about it, the second most emotional I think I felt in like a sad or upset manner, because like this go round was with Vista, like when Weld comes in, like her interactions talking about like, the group sitting around being like, look, half of our team is gone. Weld comes in and fucks the whole thing up. Like,
Yeah.
you can feel the loss there. And I don't get that sense of loss. You get a taste of it when it comes to Taylor's interactions in the last arc. About the feeling of defeat, the people who turned out to be the people who have either died and they're still looking for replacements, or who have been outed as Cauldron Capes and are now gone. like you feel a little bit of that in the teams, but post Leviathan with the Brockton Bay wards, you feel actual loss. And it doesn't feel, I don't feel that anywhere else in this book so far.
Mm.
Like
That's interesting because I did not feel it as strongly with that Vista, but like obviously sad that like they're losing, they lost so much of their team, but like I felt way more emotional with the like the Victoria Vista conversation that happens like later. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
that's
agree. Like I
interesting.
think that the whole thing, like when I say Vista, I don't mean just there, but like that whole wards interlude arc, like the conversations they're having, the, you know, whether it's just the fact that other people they're mentioning like, oh, so and so was always better at this, yada 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 yada. Like there's such a loss felt there. And I think, you know, and this is one of those, man, if we'd only had this from so and so's perspective beforehand. But we interact with the with like Victoria a little bit. And while I don't really feel the loss specifically for her boyfriend, I feel the general loss of like all their teammates, like just kind of the magnitude, like the quantity of people that they just lost. And I don't know, Regent finally kicking it just doesn't cut it for me. Given the, I don't know, the everything else that we've encountered.
Sure. I think that makes sense.
So all in favor of voting Ellen off the podcast?
I think the
No,
comments
no.
will hurt him enough, you know.
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying though, Ellen.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that I
will
think
say
that's a
once again,
valid reading.
if people want to come after me, like that's fine. But this is also where people are stopping reading, like because they also felt they were just like,
They're better
no.
friends, though. You know what I mean? Like,
You
whoever
know,
you're
I've
recommending it to.
don't worry. Like I also consider that a lot.
I do.
There's a chart and there's rankings on that chart. And if you
Oh,
fall
nice.
below,
Okay.
it's like getting demoted. You're no longer friend, you're like acquaintance.
Uh-huh. You have to earn
It's
it
sort of
back.
like it's the English Premier team, you know, basically.
Yes, exactly.
There's different levels.
I love it.
And there's relegation.
I kind of blame Game of Thrones for that. In a very broad sense, Game of Thrones really revolutionized the way we approach the mortality of our protagonists. And no other property has been able to recreate that. And honestly, not even Game of Thrones has been really able to recreate that, right?
Yeah.
Like people have been upset with the way that show ended. And I think that speaks strongly to the types of stories people enjoy. And the truth is that we're okay with plot armor because we don't want our characters to die.
Yes. I
And
agree.
when they do, it needs to service the plot and the story. And I think I've made the mistake before in trying to recommend Worm very casually. I know a lot of fans have done this where they'd be like, oh, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Lots of characters die, which is true, but also not true because we don't lose our main protagonist at the end of the first book, you know, and then pivot the story. You know, we don't lose our that type of fear over, oh, anybody could die is really not accurate. And I think is a misleading way of trying to sell the story because it's not true. And I don't think, I think people would be more fine with that if they knew that going into the story. And I think post Game of Thrones, a lot of people have approached these grittier stories with this mentality of, oh, anybody could die. Oh,
Don't
who
get
knows?
attached.
Because everything's being advertised as the next Game of Thrones, or oh, this is just like Game of Thrones, or oh, this made me feel like I was watching Game of Thrones again.
Yeah.
And it's just not. And I think when you get to arcs like this, and you do get these sort of little shock moments where you're like, oh shit, that character's dead. We've spent a lot of time with that character. It can really have that polarizing effect where either it just, you're like, well, okay, I guess fuck him then. Or you have the opposite where like now that strikes that chord that you had been sort of waiting for a while, and you get hit with the emotion of losing a character. So it's really interesting. I think both sort of readings of that are equally valid, and I think it's a symptom of the way a lot of stories are being marketed and written today. Even though Worm was kind of came out a bit before Game of Thrones got popular, I think a lot of new readers are still coming in it with that mentality, and I think that's something that makes it really difficult to discuss these types of stories because everyone sort of has Game of Thrones in the back of their mind, whether they want to believe it or not. It's back there. It's
Yeah.
It's how
That
we
makes
approach
sense.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like in terms of when I watch older shows and stuff, I'm just surprised at the amount of stuff where you're just like, why didn't they die?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and Game of Thrones does a great job of writing a character where the plot arc is leading to, like, this is a logical conclusion of the world given everything,
Mm-hmm.
but with the expectation that this character is going to continue doing stuff. Like,
Exactly.
they're written as if they're going to live forever, as are most
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
And so when you finally have the consequences happen for their actions, like it feels it feels right. And I think that is, it's a like them dying is a consequence for actions that are taken.
Yeah.
And that death furthers the story in some way.
Right.
And I think this is one of those things. Again, I think this goes to the spacing for the readers. I think that if Taylor was currently with the Undersiders, if this was her team right now, I think I would have changed my opinion. I think other people maybe still would have had the general opinion, but for me, I think this would have hit harder if we hadn't had a big moment of saying goodbye to the Undersiders, like by just leaving,
Mm-hmm.
granted,
Right.
establishing literally at the beginning of this thing, establishing a new team to take care of. Like, we just went through a whole vetting process. We've been away from the Undersiders for, granted, it's only been like what, an arc. But again, this, we've been away from the Undersiders for 2.5 months. If technically
Mhm.
we say we didn't see them, then you've got all of arc 22 that she technically hasn't talked to them. So they've
Right.
been gone for a while. We've established, we've cut the emotional ties, just like Taylor has cut ties.
Right.
We've already done that. We've already established there's a new team. We have them. We haven't grown to love them yet, but they're in our good favor. They're not neutral. I mean, at least some of them. We're going to learn to love this team. And then the old team shows immediately back up right next to Alexandria, and we're like, oh, I think having the space in this case, like, I don't know what the feeling is, because even reading it arc to arc, it's so, I've already redone my emotional ties. I was set in a trajectory where I was supposed to forget about the Undersiders. Like,
yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
so to have them, at least in this, so quickly brought back is a bit of whiplash and then die. And it's like, well, I mean, I just braced myself to cut them off. I cut them off, and now we're here, and I'm supposed to like pick that back up again.
Yeah. That's fair.
Um,
I think that's a valid criticism.
And maybe that is part of, don't want to speak on Wild Bow's behalf, but maybe that's part of the thing. Like, we're going to look at it, but like observing Taylor's emotions, granted she's in the middle of a battlefield, so we'll wait till everything cools down. But like, how does Taylor feel about this? Especially as our point of view character. Like Taylor literally did cut ties. She's she has the moments where she's like, hey guys, I want you to know I love you, yada, yada, yada. Like she is saying goodbyes and Regent's teasing her the whole time about it because she's trying to get out the like, hey, I have moved on. Just like the narrative has.
Hannah has never moved on. Hannah will never move on. Hannah is traumatized. Hannah will never forget.
You never forget your first supervillain team. You know?
That's true.
You never forget your first.
Well, Taylor says something about it, like when they're all kind of like, they're standing around Gru's bed and they're talking about losing Regent. And she kind of is like, I want to be an undersider so badly right now because I want to stand here and I want to grieve with you guys and I want to like be a team again so that we can grieve Regent, but I can't. And like I love that so much because it shows Taylor's perspective because she's such a big thinker, like she's constantly thinking of the bigger picture and often will miss the smaller moments. And so it's like her recognizing that like, I want to be here with you all in this small moment of like us and our group and mourning what used to be and mourning Regent, but I can't. Like, I have to go. I have to fight. I have another team I have to keep an eye on. Like, I have other people I have to lead and I have to go now. Like, I love that. I think I mean, I was sobbing through all of that too. Like, it hits really well. And I think you're right about the pacing, like her saying goodbye, but like it makes it very like wishing that the team was the team again one last time, but it's too late. Like she's already moved on. Regent's dead now. Like the what ifs and wish we were is like doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah.
With that being said,
the way he goes out is also emotional because it's like, it's the two best. It's his bestie,
Yeah.
Ain't nobody like a fuck buddy.
All right.
That's what they say.
So
I was
rude.
being heartfelt, but
Thank you, Michael.
I had to bring it back down to the crass level that we all know where we really are.
Clip that, Michael.
Coping here.
Put that in the soundboard.
Moving on.
Save that for later.
Yeah,
it's okay. Hey, look, Michael. What would Regent have wanted?
That's true.
That's true. That was good.
To kiss his dad.
To kiss his dad? Did you say to kiss his dad?
I was gonna say, did you say kiss?
No. What did you say?
Okay. All right. Is it time to finally move on to chapter 5?
Wrap up this arc.
We have 3 more chapters left, people.
The last part of that one, Taylor has such fantastic advice for Rachel.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, such great advice
that little section.
for Rachel.
Yeah, that is great.
And only Rachel, apparently. Like, I think Taylor may have like contracted Rachel brain, like, and because her ability to understand and deal with people, and this is a total, I have a friend who works in prisons, works with people on trial, and one of the funniest things I think of is like, wow, you have such empathy for everybody in jail, going on trial, defending them. And as soon as they get out, it's like, what pieces of shit. Like, zero empathy for any human being doing anything outside of the trial. And I think about this with Taylor. Like, Taylor has such empathy for Rachel and dealing with her. And it comes just as like the average normal person. And she's like, fuck them. They don't understand shit. It's like, Taylor, like, what the heck? Like, take just 20 seconds of the like bazillion, sun's worth of energy you have put into dealing with Rachel and just channel that for a second towards somebody else. Like you might actually be a decent human being if you could get that done.
Bless Tecton. He's like,
I love
she
his
called me
like
a mean name.
I learned this in a leadership conference moment.
He's so sweet. He's such a sweet potato.
He's
I love
so
him
good.
so much. And he's like so nice. He's like trying to like talk to Rachel, and she's just like, well, that's stupid. It's like, I was trying to be nice and she called me names. Like,
Yeah. And then Taylor's like, no, she didn't say that you were stupid. She said your
she said
advice
your
was stupid.
ideas was yeah, your advice was dumb. Like, okay.
It's so funny. Just as like, but I just love that. Like, that's such a, I don't know. That feels like such a kid thing to say, to be like, oh, so I
It's
learned
such a
this in a
Ward
leadership
thing.
conference. It's like, okay, all right, dude.
I mean, it works. Like it was decent advice, just maybe not for Rachel.
Just not for Rachel. Not for Rachel. It is so funny though. I love Tecton.
Aw,
Tecton.
bless. I'm so looking forward to Taylor and the
Bug, bug.
Wards, like the new group. Like I'm so ready because I'm ready for the camaraderie. I'm ready for the all the new inside jokes. Like like Alan said, our door is closed with the Undersiders. I'm ready for the new chapter with the Wards. Let's go. Let's go. Quote myself. If we're ready,
Chapter 5.
So the group retreats. They meet up with the wounded back at the temple and make a final stand as Behemoth changes his trajectory and heads for the last stand of capes.
X-Men 3. It's X-Men 3 is called The Last Stand.
Oh, I got it.
Okay. That's all right. That's fine. Once again,
Yeah.
trying to just do the impossible here.
Yeah.
Trying so
What
hard, man.
does it say? There's like 20 of them. Like maybe
Yeah.
30 left standing outside, and the rest are like all the injured capes inside trying
Yeah.
to be airlifted away. It's like 30 capes in the final stand against the looming Behemoth.
Oh man, I love the imagery there. It's it feels so helpless as the whole
Yeah.
the whole arc has. And like, what are they gonna do? Well, we'll wait right here.
Which if anyone has any comments for it tees us right up into the Chevalier.
I was gonna say it kind of
so
goes goes right into the interlude.
it tees
with
right
Chevalier.
into it. Yeah. If there's no
Yeah,
objections.
I'd say just go for it.
So the first interlude is from Chevalier's point of view. We get some information on him, the first meeting with the very first Ward's team, as he sees people's shimmers, as he calls them at first. We fast forward to New Delhi with Behemoth, planning of the fight, his interaction with Cody as Cody kind of went a little simmer nuclear. Him waking up in the hospital during the final stand. He thinks on his trigger event and then takes the fight to Behemoth with his amazing cannon blade, but he falls. And right when we're at the point of no return, Zion comes, fights, and wins against Behemoth.
The literal Deus Ex Machina.
For real. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was about goddamn time. We were waiting on him for forever.
I know.
The girl
For
who's
real.
supposed to be telling him where to go, she is dropping the ball.
Yeah, she's just watching the news and he's just standing there like, I mean, should I
Should I go or
Do
do you want me to?
want to go do something about that?
And she's like, why don't you do a couple more shirtless push-ups for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just not watching the news. She's just on Instagram Reels, and she's like, "Oh my
Right.
God,
Yeah.
these poor rice farmers in South Dakota!" Pew, he's gone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like, what happens
That
if you go to
tracks,
do like a media purge where you're like, I'm not going to look at any social media?
For the next 24 hours. Like New Delhi's fucked. Good
No,
job, Jessica. Or whatever her
okay.
name is. I don't remember her name.
this is one of the more interesting interludes to me because number one, I love Chevalier, and
Thank you. Thank you.
that was for you, Jacob.
Thank you.
And number 2, I really find his little shimmer thing interesting.
So interesting.
Very interesting.
So I
Yeah.
guess as a side effect of his power, he like, I don't know, sees
He can like
He can
he
see
see-
sees
their
like
trigger?
people's trigger events.
he can see
Yeah.
all parts of them.
Yeah.
Because like his power lets him see like the individual elements of everything. So he can see like the parts of what makes up a cape, which is like them and their power.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times their trigger too. So
Right, yeah, exactly.
super interesting there.
Yeah, to sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say, and with that, that's why it's so funny to me that he struggles to fight Cody because he's like, oh Jesus fuck, there's like 80 of you guys.
Yeah. I like where he's like, did they know that this would confuse my power? Like it's such an anime line, you know? Like
Yeah.
how could they have
100%.
known that this would have worked
My
against
one
me?
weakness.
My one weakness.
Oh no.
I can't see him. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and then he just gets shot through the stomach and is like, wait,
Yeah.
no.
Goddamn. Just lasered right
Again,
through the torso.
super anime.
Yeah.
His laser
Well, I
can't
mean-
hurt me. Oh,
I mean, like, listen, his weapon. This is a kid who clearly grew up at some point being really into Final Fantasy. Because what is his weapon, if not the Buster Sword to the max, right?
Yep.
The
I mean,
Gunblade.
we talked about this.
The
It's
gun-
the combo Squall Gunblade, Cloud Strife.
It's the
Buster
Squall
Sword.
Gunblade. Yeah, it's everything, right? It's wonderful.
All the things.
he is all of us if we got his power.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I to balance out all the hatred that has been thrown upon this arc, this interlude, if we're talking about like favorite interludes, there's a couple I would place above it, but this is a top 5, probably top 3 interlude for me. I do love Chevalier's character. I love his power. I think he's fascinating. I love the way that this interlude essentially introduces a character. We've met Chevalier many times, but very distantly. Introduces a character, builds him up, and then justifies his final moments so well to where, like, for a moment, I forgot Taylor existed, and I was all on board with the 1v1 between Chevalier and Behemoth. I was like,
Mhm.
let's fucking go. Taylor, you can get a win another day. This is for Chevalier. This is his moment. Let him have it. And Wildbow writes it so succinctly. And we get to this point at the end where he's facing down Behemoth, and it just feels so earned, despite having like 2,000-3,000 words at this point to get him here. So I love the progression of this arc and the way we get to this moment. And then of course that moment comes, and it is not just him, because he kind of loses, but like he's down, he's beaten, and then Defiance there and helps him up, and then Foil fires a shot, and it's
Yeah,
like
and
you
Usher
get
gives
this,
him his
like-
power so he can
and
approach
Usher gives him
Behemoth.
right.
You know,
And it's just sort of like this beautiful final moment where, like, this feels like this could have been the end of the series, you know? It just sort of feels like the culmination of everything is building to this moment. And then, of course, it's not their moment, and that's the little slap in the face. But yeah, I love the structure of this arc a lot. I really like the way it builds.
yeah, it's a good one. And this little chapter on Chevalier, him meeting the wards, you get to see, a little bit more on him. I love that he dated Miss Militia
I was
briefly.
about to say he dated Hannah.
yeah.
He dated
Yeah.
Hannah. He,
Love it.
helped get her out of her shell, which, there's a lot of like little stuff like that I love about this. And the fact that she's not there, and he's like, I don't really mind that she's not there. Like, I get it. She can't fight Behemoth. We've
Yeah.
talked about Coil Sniper being one of the best capes, but I feel like Miss Militia / Coil Sniper might be a tad outmatched. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just a smidge.
I
We
don't
also
know.
saw Mouse Protector
We did see Mouse
Oh,
Protector in the
yeah,
past.
we did see Mouse Protector, that's
alive
right.
and well, as opposed
Yeah.
to, Murder
Oh.
Rat.
Right.
Yeah.
with her little
my
like
God.
huzzah.
She's so
Yeah.
fucking cute. Oh my God.
She's like if Redwall
feel-
was R-rated.
I feel like we got cheated out of having such a fun character in the story that like before we even met her, she's already murder rat. Like, God damn it. Cause she seems like she would have been so cool. Like she's got her little sword and her little shield and her little helmet that with her giant mouse ears. And she's like, huzzah! Like, yeah. I think me and her would just be besties. Like we have the
100%.
same energy.
No, low-key, I was going to save this for Dissecting Worm, but 100% would love like a prequel series on like the first awards.
Yes.
And having
that would
like
be so
like
fun.
Hero be a main advisor sort of,
Oh,
mentor
Yeah.
type character the whole time. I would be all over that. Just,
Heck yeah.
Oh, and
I
I
would be
do
down.
love, speaking of people who are alive, I do love seeing Hero as well.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
poor guy.
Man, he seemed like such a good guy.
He did.
so
He's like
nice.
I love he's just so playful and like he's trying to get these teenage vigilantes, right? So you imagine
Yeah.
most of these kids come in with like the attitude of like Damien, Bruce Wayne's son, of just like,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Who the hell are you? Like these like cocky, then you've got Mouth Protector. She's whatever. But just this like, not whatever in a bad way, but she's like in her own vibe.
Yeah.
But
With her little posse.
yeah, but then Hero's like, I've stocked the room with games and movies. Make sure you do your homework, kids. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
Honestly,
my
love this
God,
guy.
the
The
impression I
cheese,
got of the
love it.
kids was most of them had been. I mean, honestly, it's not that far off from Taylor.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of what it resonates with is like all these guys are probably kids that had something happen and then they got picked up by the PRT. Like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like this kid caught on fire in the bathroom and didn't, burn himself.
Fire in the bathroom.
Yeah. And in comes Chevalier, their last recruit, and they're like, "Oh, what's so special about this guy?" It's like, "Oh, he was out there killing an entire gang.
Yeah.
Like he's the Damian Wayne of this group. Like the rest of them are, kids who have just figured out their powers, and he's been like hunting people down." Like,
It's
which
true.
in that
Yeah.
regards, very, very strong Taylor like experience coming into this. Like,
Yeah. Got kidnapped.
there's a reason. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, he didn't get kidnapped. His brother got kidnapped.
Yeah. His brother got kidnapped. Yeah. Oh man. So I do want to say though that the image that comes to mind as Chevalier is marching towards a behemoth, pulling out his gunblade, is just the like the Giga Chad memes with the "Can You Feel My Heart" song of that.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's the background music I'm imagining for this scene for some reason. He's just marching,
Oh yeah.
growing this massive blade. It's this final stand, and it's just like this guy. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then Cyan comes and
Cool.
does his thing, but whatever.
I
Well, it's
love. Go ahead, Anna.
No, please.
No, all I was gonna say was I love that there's the setup that if we destroy the core, that you could kill him. And in the
Yes.
back of my mind, I was going, okay, like that's a bit of a cop out. They didn't think about that after 30 years of Endbringer attacks to like go for the heart, really. And then they try to do it. It doesn't work. It pisses them off. And then Scion's solution is just to eventually just vaporize him, essentially. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it was a nice little what's the phrase I'm thinking of? Subvert of expectations there.
Yeah.
Done correctly. Game of Thrones, take notes.
Yeah. I mean, Scion finally coming in. And well, I think it's interesting too. They talk about the core and how the cores are all like off center, right? They purposefully keep
Right.
them where you
Right,
might
yeah.
not expect a heart or a brain to be. Like they
Right,
mentioned the
right.
Simurfs is in her wing, probably. which
Yeah.
is
Or
like,
like the wing joint or
yeah,
whatever.
like the wing joint. So that's why her body heals slower and stuff like that, which is really interesting. And then
Yeah.
Scion just like grabs him and it's just like, you
Just
done. And
Body Hulk slams him.
You're
and
done, son.
seems like he gets like heals everybody and gets rid of the radiation. So
Oh yeah. As he's
Yeah.
just walking towards them, or
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
walking.
he's
like
got the
floating
opposite.
down
He's
and-
got his heel aura.
Yeah, and Chevalier, yeah, exactly. Chevalier's like, oh, I feel better. Am I dying? And he's like, oh no, a scion. I'm alive.
Speaking of the Chad
Looks like
music,
the adrenaline's worn off.
yeah, man.
But why couldn't he have done that sooner? You know, like,
You know,
Come on,
like I
Scion.
said, that girl
Who
who's
knows
supposed to
the
be the most
ways of
powerful girl in the
Scion?
world, she's dropping the ball, and I'm
His
upset about it.
ways
Like,
aren't
what-
our ways.
Yeah, no,
His-
this bitch needs to get on. She needs to get on the horn with the Protectorate, the Triumvirate, whatever. She needs to talk to somebody. They need to be like, hey, look, Catherine, whatever your freaking name is, we need you to mosey on over here, please. Like, she needs like one of those. Okay, it's the red phone that plugs into the wall. That's in all of the movies. It's like
Yes.
the red phone that when the red phone
phone.
rings, like that's what we need.
I agree.
I'm
Yep.
upset.
Needs a bat signal.
about it.
Needs a Scion signal.
Need a bat signal. Yeah.
Yep.
Scion, if I shine this, you show up right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
Understand?
All right. We ready for the last interlude?
Interlude.
All right. So the last interlude, arc 24. We kind of jump around with this one. The Chicago wards make a decision regarding Taylor and decide that they will ask her to join them. Huzzah!
Yay!
Pretender leaves in Alexandria's body. What? Colin tries to fix Dragon's code and try and reboot her properly and is upset that it doesn't seem to be working correctly. Taylor calls her dad and then talks with Glenn before going to a tribunal over her conduct. Specifically over the fact that the video that was recorded on her body cam during the entire fight was released and circulating all over the interwebs, which was Glenn's move, actually, releasing that footage, and he's probably going to get fired for it.
oh, he's definitely getting fired. He's like,
Oh, he's
I'm
totally
done.
getting fired for
I'm
that.
done. This is my last
and then-
huzzah.
And as that video circulates, the world wonders, what comes next?
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of things in the previous interlude or the one before where we realize Dragon has died, and it's one of those things where it's like, at first you're
Yeah.
like, oh, Dragon died, like that's not really her, but then with Colin trying to reboot her, you kind of think, oh wait, maybe that was her, like that was her AI body basically. Something got hit,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
You know, whether it was one of the ships or that body that she'd made to walk with Colin. So that kind of hits too of like this Colin's struggle to bring her back. That actually felt very emotional to me because it was him
Me
like,
too.
I can't put her back the way she was before because then she'll know what I did. She'll review the files and then she'll fight me on it. Like I worked so hard to set her free from the PRT. We know all about those limitations. And him just like resigning himself to being like, you know, ship, just update me when it's done one way or another, and just going to sit and ponder being alone and ponder,
Oh.
you know, feeling like this is the first time he's made a genuine connection. And now like, you know,
Yeah.
it's a bit sappy maybe because he's like, my whole life I felt like nobody loved me. Now the one person I loved is gone. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little
So
sappy,
good, though.
but I don't know.
Edgy
Oh,
boy.
God. I love it.
I've come to like, you know, define it at this point. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you get a pass on the sappiness.
He's
This is
better
another one
with
of those
Dragon.
things. You know, we talk about things that shows up in Worm or in Wildbow writings. Something I've noticed is Wildbow really likes dealing with, I say dealing with it. He tends to write characters that die or have memory loss of some kind, but are still alive in a way, where one character likes them or has a relationship with them, and they have to contend with the fact that this person, who is the same person, doesn't have the same memories or in a way isn't the same person anymore.
Mhm.
It's just interesting. I feel like I've seen that in Twig for sure, in Twig, but also in Pact as well.
Mm.
And I'm trying to think if there's that in Ward. Yeah, no, definitely in Ward. Oh my gosh, yes, in Ward. Yeah, holy cow.
Well,
No,
no
okay, so
spoilers.
I
Yeah, no,
haven't
shut
read
up.
I haven't read Pale, but yeah, no. So as I'm thinking about it, yeah, basically in every one of his writings I've read.
Nice. Is one of his things like the phrase "fuck me" and what's the other word? Michael, say it again for us.
Opus.
Copacetic. Thank you.
Copacetic.
Pathetic,
Oh,
baby.
pathetic.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I did read another book recently where copacetic was in it, and I like shouted
Wild Bill
copacetic
fan.
out loud.
Wild Bill
And
fan.
no, maybe
Or
just
recess fan.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought that was funny because
That
now
is
every
funny.
time I hear that, I'm gonna think of Wild Bill.
I did want to go back to something too. It's related to Interlude 2. But in Chevalier's Interlude, right, they try to take off one of Behemoth's arms. And he looks back and sees Taylor in the Chicago wards. Basically, it sounds like they made a giant Beyblade to cut off most of one of his arms. And so,
Totally.
and so this whole like conversation afterwards of them like, I feel like they gotta just be like, half of them are just like, I mean, just the cool factor, Tecton. Like, we gotta ask her to join us. Like what? Like think about the things we did. Like and I do love. We didn't talk about it much, but I do love Tecton's philosophy of rather than try to cover every base, let's just be really good at this one thing. And Taylor kind of fills in the gaps of making it work for all of them, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But we do
Really
find
good.
out who Golem is.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Kaiser's boy.
Hey, it's Theo.
Theo! He did get powers.
And they
Also-
were lame.
No!
They're great.
No, I remember the first time hearing about that. I'm like, what good are those powers? And it was like, yeah, I could stick them in, but it takes forever. And I'm like, oh, it's useless.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No. I mean, no, it definitely, I don't think it was
How are
useless in
you
this
gonna
fight.
kill Jack with that kind of shit?
I don't know, but he could hold down Behemoth for a little while, so that's kind of cool.
I guess.
I thought it was cool.
As long as Behemoth was standing still.
I mean, listen, you can only ask for so much from Golem, okay?
Guys, give me about 10 minutes. I think I could get a couple fingers out there to like wrap around his ankle.
Also, yeah, with that knowledge too, I do love his whole thing of like he's like huffing and puffing to keep up. I'm like, okay, you've led a soft life, we know.
Yeah.
But then also like Taylor's observation of like he automatically kind of has that danger sense that she and Tecton, I think she says has.
Yeah.
And she's like, I wonder where he got that from being so new.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
In the words
Oh.
of, to paraphrase another person, Kaiser was his father. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Basically. So I love that. Okay. This part might be a little bit tasteless. So Michael, I'll let you decide if you want to leave it in or not.
Oh,
But
good.
the whole
Oh,
thing
no.
with Pretender and Satirical, it reminded me.
Oh, it's so gay.
It's
It's
so good.
so gay.
It's so good. Okay, what it reminded me of though is I think I sent this reel. I know I sent it probably to Jacob and maybe Alan and Michael too. But it's this
Wow.
reel of like this couple. It's a guy and a girl, and it's like, take care of your bros in high school. And then it does a flashback and it's like, because one day they might become your wife. And it's like,
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god.
and I don't know if that was real or trolling or whatever, but like just
Oh,
I
gosh.
loved that little satirical. It's like, hey, now that you're a lady. And Pretender's just like, you gross, stop.
Yeah. Also, I mean, a satyr. I mean, classic satyr.
Yeah,
am I
yeah,
right?
satirical.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know it's Pretender now. So we know a little bit more about his power. And I had to do a bit of research, but basically he is literally a body snatcher. He
Right.
takes over somebody's body and takes on all the powers in that body. I don't know if he can leave. I assume he can leave. Or else, one-time use power, how do you know how that works? Whatever. But basically what I was reading online, because I didn't really understand his little explanation to Satirical. Basically, Alexandria's body was so invulnerable that her brain survived her death,
Yep.
but no other part of her
she's-
did. her brain
I
basically
thought it was the
so
other way
insulated.
around. She's like brain dead, basically.
Yeah, no, she's brain dead. It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Her
Okay,
body is impenetrable, but her brain is
her
like
brain,
toast.
yes, she's like brain
Yeah.
dead, right? But her body
Because
won't age or anything still.
remember, I was gonna say, yeah, she's still like, I want to say she's still the same age she got the powers at, which was like 16.
It
she has
says
to use
that-
makeup to
Yep.
look like she's 40.
Yeah, she has to like age herself up
Yeah.
with makeup to make herself look like she's aged, but she hasn't. So it's like she still looks,
Yeah. Which I don't know if this makes me feel better or worse about Alexandria now being pretender and under Cauldron's complete control, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, maybe
It
she's
also
doing a
makes
little
me
bit
think-
more.
they said
or
something
maybe
about,
a little
like-
less trouble.
That she didn't have to cut her fingernails or something like that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm wondering, much like her hair, like there's a lot of dead skin that make up those things. Are those does she still grow hair?
It doesn't
Like,
seem
if
like it.
She shaves her head.
If she
she
shaves her
just
head,
not
she's
have-
fucked, but I guess she just doesn't shave her head.
Listen,
mean,
these
but
are
what if
Superman
her-
questions? How does
ton of
Superman
metal in her
shave?
hair?
Yeah.
You know, that's molten.
Well, you go
gets
and you
stuck
talk
to
to
her.
Weld and you melt it the fuck out. Because here's the thing, like her hair is part of her body, which is what also impenetrable, right? So like if her
Yeah.
skin, then maybe her hair can't be cut either.
Probably. I mean, if she got melted
That's
metal in
part
her
of
hair,
her.
she probably could just grab it and, kind of like a hair
Yoink
tie,
it.
just kind of like slip it off,
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Superman already answered this question.
Mm.
If you are, it's the whole unstoppable force. It's an immovable object.
Yeah.
If you are strong enough to do anything, then you can. And if she wants to shave, she could. If she wants to cut her hair, she could. She's strong enough to do it.
I do remember seeing a comic book frame of Superman shaving with his own eye laser. So, it tracks.
Yeah, where he bounces it off
He
the mirror.
bounces it off the mirror. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's great.
And the mirror doesn't shatter.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
it's
was
just
saying
a
the mirror
mirror.
doesn't melt.
No, it's a mirror.
Okay.
That's
Also-
It's a good
certainly
mirror.
how lasers work.
It's a really-
and Superman has
He got it
molecular
at,
control over his
IKEA.
lasers.
It's not some cheap.
At
one.
IKEA?
Super mirror.
Let me tell you, if he got it at IKEA, it is not surviving a laser blast.
Wouldn't that be such good marketing though? That like our mirror is so strong that Superman can shave his face with his own lasers.
Yeah, there's a real need to advertise for mirrors, I guess.
Okay, look. I thought it was funny.
I mean, I could use some good.
Uh,
All the mirrors I look at are ugly.
Oh, Jacob.
Oh, got him.
By
Play
him,
the old
he
clip.
means himself.
I'm so alone. All I have is my meme. I'm gonna find that clip.
Oh,
Insert
Mike,
it
you have
here.
to make that out of context compilation for the patrons.
Oh yeah, you
Gosh.
do.
Mm. It's
At
the,
some point.
Oh man.
they say you are what you eat, but I don't remember eating a sad little man.
I think we're
Yeah,
at part of
it's
the
good.
discussion where we move into favorite powers.
I would say we've still got to talk. We've got
We did a little bit left in this.
we've
arc,
got we've got Annex.
We got to talk about Glenn.
yeah,
we
that's
got
right.
a little
Glenn.
bit with Kirk, who is Annex.
Yes.
Mhm.
A little
That's at the
ticky-tock
beginning
there.
with the wards.
Taylor comes in, I assume, to murder. Well, I'll give you my timeline of events according to my notes.
Right.
Jesus Taylor, I'm assuming she's there to kill Glenn. Also, she had a body cam on the whole time.
Yeah, Jesus.
Like, Taylor, the first thing you do when you get a body cam is you turn it off. Everybody knows this. Every police district knows this. Now, but also, she had a body cam on the whole time. And then I went, oh, never mind. It was just for therapy. Oh, wait, never mind. Fuck Glenn. Glenn can go fuck himself every which way. Yeah. Every bit of sympathy I had, or like a likability that Glenn had in there for some reason. Yeah, no, fuck him. What a terrible human being. Get the fuck out of there. You could probably sue him for some real good bucks right there.
Well, I don't
Like-
know. I don't know if you could because, well, I mean, I think
She's
the PRT could, but I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
who owns the rights to the footage, right? Probably not
it's
Taylor.
specifically, it was for therapy. I think it was like that was there for
Is that
Taylor
what they
to
said?
review.
It was for therapy?
Yeah.
Oh.
She
Yeah,
does
it was
say that,
literally
yeah.
Miss Yamada got her hooked up for that so that she could look at it with Miss Yamada and talk about like,
Mm.
essentially, to look back at herself. And what the fuck? Like he got his
Yeah.
hand. Number one, he got his hands on that. Number two, he like just made that public. Let's like go ahead and just take, your journal that you are writing for your therapy and then just post that online. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, true. I mean, at the same time, I think I get what he was going for, right? Basically, nobody really knows exactly what Taylor did until the video was released. And so the whole PRT who's like, we're kind of upset with some of the stuff you did, which I'm totally with Taylor on this one. Like normally I'm kind of like on the fence with Taylor's accusations of the PRT. This one I'm like, yeah, no, fuck that. Like why are you guys on her case after she really helped save New Delhi?
Yeah, honestly, the only thing I'd be pissed off with is like, you did absolutely fuck that one dude over.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that's really bad. But
Do we know where he went? Did we get him back?
Hannah, he went to a farm
yeah.
with a hammock
no.
made of dreams.
Well, I mean, yeah, so we didn't really talk about it much, but I don't know if this is part of what makes Fierce so scary, but he's got a teleporter who can just put his arm through your chest and kill you. So, that's cool. That's fine.
fucking
Oh, yeah.
terrifying.
Just small things like that.
Just little things.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I kind of get what he's going for. Of like, let's just show everybody what really happened rather than wait for the official answer, let the world's opinion fall where it will. And we can already see like some positive effects of that. People are like, wow, I can't believe she did that. That was amazing. I don't know. I can see what he is going for. He is still an asshole though.
Yeah.
Fierce dominance over the Virgin Glen. That is what I'm getting at.
Those are two characters I did not expect to be in the same
Chad
sentence,
Fierce over versus Virgin Glen. That is going to be my takeaway from this entire thing.
Now, we love the Chads. The true Chads, like Chevy.
And Fierce.
Okay.
So if Behemoth was running down Chevalier, is that a Chevy chase?
Stop it right now.
Okay.
Stop it right now.
All right.
Yes.
And that's all.
There's a drove the Chevy to the levee joke somewhere.
I think I already made it last week.
Nick made it last
I
time.
did.
He chases him off the edge of a cliff,
That's right.
thus driving the Chevy to the left.
Oh my god.
Also, we assume it's Dragon at the end.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
No, because he thinks it's the ship,
the ship.
which he said is oddly sounds like dragon. And so when
Yeah.
Colin, and then he's like, yeah, just hold on, give me a second. It's like, it's me. It's like, of course it's you.
Oh.
But
Beautiful.
is it the same you?
Favorite power?
Yeah, let's do powers.
As an idea, I love Behemoth's power. Pure dynakinesis of like everything energy. Like he can take massive hits and just translate them to the ground instead. He's not a cape, so I'm not going to give him my like favorite power, but just the concept of that in a cape would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not all of it, but just that one piece of it, the dynakinesis, fire, electricity. Anyways, I thought that was cool. However, I want to give this one to Chevalier. I think for me, this idea of, I don't know exactly how his power works, but this idea of like, I'm going to take this incredibly dense thing and put it into a tiny, I mean, it's the Buster Sword. Like I can't not love it. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so
great.
cool. And the fact that he can strike Leviathan from 100 feet away because he can make it that big is just like, It's the most anime power that Worm has, and it's so cool. And plus, he's a great guy, so I do love Chevy.
Chevalier.
Yeah, it helps that we can actually root for him and not feel bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's kind of like the. Well, actually, I don't know. I was going to compare him to Legend, but Legend has his issues too. But I do like.
Yeah, no, we've got our pure boy section, which is like Weld, Tecton,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Chevalier right
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
Pure good boys with good hearts who are generally unproblematic.
Full hearts,
'Cause
good boys.
I like
can't lose.
I'd give that to I would also like to give that to Miss Militia, but she did stick a gun in Tattletale's mouth at one point, so
Yeah.
Hey, that was hot.
need that HR meme, sticks gun in mouth like during the bank robbery. Whoa, like call HR, like Miss Militia sticks a gun in mouth like,
Like,
oh,
mommy.
hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. If I say Chevalier, I think I've said him in like every time we do this, and Chevalier's been in the arc. I'm like, it's Chevalier. So I feel like I can't say it again in the most obvious time to say it. There's a
you can say
lot
it.
of powers in this arc, though.
That's true. There's a
Um,
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of small little powers that sort of get passed by. We get little glimpses of powers like Rhyme, who has like multiple versions of herself. Wasn't quite sure what was going on there, but seemed cool. Usher, all these other powers, but I think at the end of the day, it was Chevalier.
Yes.
Which, and just for the record, his power is that he can combine the properties of several items into one. And it helps if they're similar in size. So like he can take two things and combine them into one object and then selectively choose which attribute of each object carries over into the final version.
Oh, right.
So, like-
That's part of why
'Cause-
Arms Master is jealous, because his whole Tinker
Yeah.
thing is like minimalism, basically, like putting as much into small spaces as possible.
Yeah,
So-
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they would have been
'Cause
perfect
he-
together.
Because when he gets knocked by Cody, he like before he falls and drops his cannon blade, he has to remember to switch the properties so that it doesn't just like crush through the floor and like drop
Collapse the
8
building.
stories and
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I thought was great.
It's the
So
classic
sick.
trope of like what would happen if a Jedi dropped their lightsaber when it stayed lit.
Yes.
And
Right.
it's like, just straight through.
Straight
Perfectly
through the
vertical.
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Golem. I think he's very cool. I love all the hands and like being able to like basically teleport through surfaces is really cool. Like teleport your hands. And he says like something like, "I can do it with my face, but that's not very helpful." It's like I love that so much.
I mean, he's playing with one of those little like the thing that's like nails or pins, and you like put your hand in it. And it like
Oh,
pushes
yeah.
out the other
Yeah.
side. It's
Yeah, it's
just
basically
that.
that.
I remember the
love
first
that.
time I saw that, and I was like, oh, because like he has to like if he wants to produce an arm, he has to stick up to his arm in the ground or in one of his little panels. Like
Yeah.
he can't just like touch
don't think he
them
has
and
those
make
yet.
the thing come out. He has to like find a piece of material, and then like let's just say it's the ground. So he has to lay on the ground shoulder deep in it
I love
Right.
it.
in order
I
to
love
get
it.
the shoulder all the way to the shoulder arm to come out the other side. Like
I love it.
I mean,
I'm
I
here
think
for it.
it's easier than that, right? He just holds it up and sticks his arm through like you'd stick it through a sleeve, right?
Except
yeah, I mean, well,
slowly.
Except slowly, yeah. But
Yeah.
I do, yeah. I do want him to like. I don't know if he can work with wood, but I love the idea of him like pranking somebody, pretending to be the Deku tree or something from Legend of Zelda. Just sticks his face, and he's like, Link.
yeah.
It's good.
Ugh.
Golem does have power.
My
I'm excited
favorite
to
for
see
this
him.
one. There's a lot of good ones in here. I like Fiercey. I like Annex. Annex has got a really fun power.
Yeah.
I think my number one for this one goes to Particulate, the dust tanker.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
He's got that. He had the little scanning device that like Taylor was like. I mean, every description about him is great. Taylor's like, "What the fuck is a dust tanker?"
Yeah,
He
right.
pulls out a scanning device, and it's like, "What is this tracking? Like we're getting the right readings, but what are we going towards? Like, what is it tracking on? Like the amount of dust in the room? Like,
Right.
like what is going on there? And then he has a gun that just like, I mean, they talk about it carves a tunnel, and he just like points it at a wall, and the wall just turns to dust, which is nuts. And you really hope doesn't get used on you at any point in time.
We're all just particles of dust, man.
That's right. You're all
Yeah,
just dust particles. Ashes to
ashes to
ashes.
ashes, dust to
Dust
dust.
to dust, baby.
Holy crap.
I do oh, there are some
That's
cool
awesome.
powers here though, because there's the who's the social danger sense hero who learns to speak Portuguese.
Not
Oh, she's
Riot.
so cool.
Um,
On the roof.
What's her name? It starts with an A, I think, but
isn't she the no, it's I don't think it's an A.
No, it's not.
It's
Never mind. Totally wrong.
it's the
Oh, Sailor and all
she's one of
people
the
get
she
off
one of
the
the
roof.
team leaders, isn't she?
She is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember her name though.
I can find out.
Yeah, she's
It's
cool.
not Armistice.
It's kind of like that though, I think. It's got the same
I'm
vibe
trying
as
to
the
remember.
word armistice. Damn it.
I don't think it's an A.
No, it might not be. Kind of
Arbiter?
Arbiter. It is an A.
Arbiter. It is an A. You're right. You're right.
right.
Yeah, I like Arbiter. I don't know exactly what else she can do, but that's just kind of neat.
It's just so cool. Like she starts off talking Portuguese to them, and she like is like very
Yeah.
broken, and then like the more she listens to them, the more she like can get it
Yeah.
and figure it out.
Okay,
and then,
what
like,
is
she just keeps getting better and better.
what is we talked about it earlier, but what is Fierce's power exactly? Because I'm trying to get.
I thought he makes portals, and
He makes portals to the past, which is why he can portal light back to itself, which is how he.
That's right. Yeah. So he has the ability to
builds
make
up the,
golden doorways back in
yeah.
time for a few minutes. This allows him to travel back and change past events. Which is when, talking about his wife, he's like, I could have traveled back and saved my wife, but I didn't because that meant a worse villain would still be alive too. And yeah, so he's doubling and redoubling light for long periods of time, which create powerful blasts of energy. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Also, again, is he the first incidence of like actual time travel that we've met in Worm?
Well,
I
Cody
mean, besides
does his
Perdition.
little zippy.
Yeah, Cody.
Yeah, a Perdition has a little like, but that's not like changing the past. That's just resetting something.
okay, so
and
we haven't
Dispatch too.
seen.
We didn't talk about Dispatch either.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Dispatch.
Shoot.
Dispatch also has a time related power.
Yeah, no, there's a couple. Somebody else in the adepts.
Yeah,
the adepts also have a bunch of chronomancers.
You're right.
With them. One of them is, obviously we have some like fake-ish ones at like 11th hour, but I'm pretty sure their main person, something time related.
You're right. It's coming back to me, but I can't remember what their name was.
I'm pretty sure is can manipulate time to like. Remember we talked about they can fast forward things 10 seconds and like back things up 10 seconds. And even pausing. Oh, Epoch. Here we go. I found it.
Yeah, Epoch.
Right. Okay.
Or
yeah, you're
Epic.
right.
Epoch. However it's said. Yeah, so there's that, and then Dispatch has a really cool power too, because his whole thing is he can make like bubbles of time, which are so cool. Like I don't know, there's so many cool powers in this, right? Whenever you have these,
that's where the time bubbles came from for attacking Behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was making Eidolon and Dispatch could make like his own personal bubble, and that was how he was rescuing people. Is he like go in, make a bubble, stitch him up, and then run off real fast? So it makes it look like he's a speedster, but he's not. Whereas Eidolon, he chose this power to like make little bubbles of time to slow down parts of Behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I read the part about the time bubbles, and I got really, really emotional. And I was like, "Oh no, something happens, but I don't know what it is." And I was like living in fear this entire arc because the bubbles are mentioned pretty early on, and we've talked about them before. But like, I don't know why, but it triggered something in my brain, and I got really, really like emotional and like scared and crying. And I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. I feel like my brain remembers something that I don't. It's very upsetting.
I mean, does it remind you of like the time bubble where everybody's stuck in Brockton Bay? Is that what you're
I
thinking?
mean, I was thinking about that because we've talked about that before. But no. I feel like there's something else. Like there's something coming, but I don't know what it is. I feel like we're going to see the time bubbles again, but it's not going to be
There's
good for us.
something similar coming.
See? I knew there was something. I had
Michael,
no fucking clue what it was.
That out.
Yeah.
No, I think it's
we can cut all of this out. I had to tell you guys, but I like immediately started crying, and I was like, oh my God, we're gonna lose somebody in the bubble. Like, oh my God. And then when we lost Regent, I was like, okay, but that wasn't in a bubble. So like I feel like we're gonna lose somebody else that's important to us in a bubble, but I don't remember. And it's upsetting because I don't remember, but my brain somehow remembered because it started crying all of a sudden. I don't know. Anyways.
No, nothing happens. I'm just messing with you.
Also, it's confirmed
I
that
hate you.
Epoch
Or Alan.
You suck.
sorry, Alan.
Epoch also bought a cauldron vial to get his powers. And it is guessed, since we know that Perdition took the vestige formula and got some time powers, that perhaps Epoch also got a version of the vestige formula.
Oh.
Interesting. All right.
Okay.
We got everyone got their favorite powers out of the way.
Yeah,
I think that was yes.
Nice.
That and some.
That handsome. There were a
so
few.
many.
We got some bonus powers this round. Yeah, a lot of fun. All right. Well, I think we're wrapping it up. Any other final thoughts people want to get in on Arc 24?
24 is a big number.
It
It's
is
pretty crazy.
Can't
Lovely.
wait to read 25.
25
I'm
is
ready.
coming.
I'm so ready.
Just a few more arcs. We are crazy how close we are, and yet so far to go. So stick around. Arc 24 for Dissecting Worm with myself and Alan coming out next week, and then we'll be back into Arc 25, which is it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, boy.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. It's been a blast, fun arc, a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Do you agree with Alan or the rest of society? Is this did you
Do you agree
enjoy
with
the
Alan,
arc?
or do you agree with the rest of us?
Yeah. No, but for real, like what you think? What do you think of the arc? Was this a highlight? Was this a low point? Did you enjoy the way Regent went out? Do you wish it would have been done a little differently? Let us know your thoughts. And then we plugged it before, but we got to put it in the end. Join us over on our Patreon. We have a lot of fun over there, access to our Discord, and a lot of little bonus videos and content that we've been creating. We got some more ideas coming out on the way. So if you've enjoyed listening to us and you've stuck around here for 24 arcs, you'll enjoy a lot of what we have over there. So come
100%.
Yeah, come take a look. You won't be disappointed. And on that note, thanks everyone for joining. It's been a lot of fun. And we'll see you next time. Michael, want to play us out?
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.